Leading flag salute, I'll lead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before a roll call, it's my understanding that Commissioner Sangha is participating remotely. So if we can have a motion from the commission.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Midgley? Yes. Commissioner Rustaller?
Yes.
Commissioner Mealis?
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha?
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky?
Yes.
If I may, through the chair, if I can just clarify that is for a medical.
It's correct.
And we just clarify that as opposed to just cause.
Yes, it's for understanding that she's appearing remotely based on a medical emergency, and that's what the motion was for.
That was my understanding. Thank you so much for clarifying.
And we do need an actual roll call at this point.
Commissioner Rustaller?
Here?
Commissioner Mealis?
Here.
Commissioner Sangha?
Present.
Commissioner Grunsky?
Here.
Commissioner Midgley?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Action on requests for continuances or withdrawals.
There have been no requests for continuances or withdrawals.
Okay, at this time, the public is welcome to address the Planning Commission on items to interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. These are items, this is for something that would not be on the agenda. Anyone in the audience? Okay, seeing none. Anyone online? Okay, moving on, we're going to move on to our action items. Consent agenda items number 1, 2, and 3. Items calendared for consent will be approved in one motion without a public hearing unless a member of the Planning Commission or the audience requests that the item be removed from the consent calendar and heard separately. Does anyone need to? Okay, seeing nothing there.
Motion that we approve the consent items.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I believe Sangha had a second.
Commissioner Mealis?
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley? Yes. Commissioner Rustaller?
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha?
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky?
Yes. Okay, consent items pass. Moving on, general plan map amendment number PA 1800112, zone reclassification. I believe we have a report from staff.
Yes, I have Associate Planner Elisa Goulart here that will offer the staff report.
No? Yeah, sorry. Good evening, commissioners, chairman. Every time I seem to have to get reacquainted with this. So let's see. Okay. Let's get the right one. This project consists of 3 applications, which include a general plan map amendment and a zone reclassification to change the designation of a 10-acre parcel from general agriculture to truck terminals, and a site approval to permit a truck terminal with parking for 109 trucks and trailers, 109 trucks, 109 trailers, plus 13,100 square feet of accessory buildings. The 10-acre parcel is located on the south side of East State Route 120, 0.96 miles east of State Route 99, east of the city of Manteca and outside of the city of Manteca's sphere of influence. Surrounding properties on the south side of East State Route 120 are primarily agriculture with scattered residences, including 6 small lots adjacent on the east side of the project site that are developed with residences. Properties on the north side of State Route 120, across from the project site, are zoned and developed with industrial uses. This project is a request to change the general plan designation and zoning from general agriculture to truck terminals. Because the project would change an agricultural use to a non-agricultural use, agricultural mitigation is required for the loss of farmland, and this is included in the recommended conditions of approval. In order to approve a general plan map amendment, a zone reclassification, and a use permit, several findings must be made in the affirmative. Findings for the redesignation to freeway services commercial. I have to stop myself. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Findings for the redesignation to truck terminals include that the proposal be consistent with the locational criteria requiring that the property be located within 1 mile of a freeway interchange and on a county-defined minor arterial or higher classification roadway. The project property meets both criteria. The project is also able to meet the general plan service requirements for truck terminals, which allows for private on-site services. The complete findings are attached to the staff report, and staff recommends that they can be made in the affirmative. In addition to the change in designation and zoning, the project includes a use permit for a truck terminal, with parking for 109 trucks and trailers, a 4,800 square foot accessory shop for brake and tire repair for on-site vehicles, a 4,800 square foot transfer dock, and a 3,500 square foot office. A traffic study was performed and recommended that improvements to State Route 120 include an eastbound deceleration lane at the project's entrance, and an extension of the center two-way left turn lane from where it currently ends at Ideal Parkway, extended east to ComConnects Road. These improvements are included in the recommended conditions of approval. Response letters were received. Thank you. Response letters were received from the City of Manteca expressing concern about the potential for the project to add to truck traffic on Austin Road, which runs north and south parallel to State Route 99. To address the city's concern, staff has included conditions requiring installation of a sign at the site's driveway exit reading, "Trucks turning left are recommended to use State Route 120 to State Route 99, as well as requiring written notice to drivers using the truck terminal to use State Route 120 rather than Austin Road. Community Development received neighborhood opposition to the project in the form of 9 letters, 19 signed copies of a form letter, and multiple emails from the neighboring resident on the property to the west of the project parcel. All cited concerns about traffic and noise, consistency with the general plan, and converting farmland. As previously stated, project traffic impacts were reviewed and measures put into place for road improvements to mitigate for traffic impacts. Additionally, a noise study recommended construction of a sound wall where there are adjacent residences. Staff is recommending in the conditions, and the applicant has agreed to this, to construct a solid masonry wall 8 feet tall on the south and west property lines and a 10-foot tall wall on the east property line. As for general plan consistency, the property's location meets the general plan criteria to be located a minimum of 1 mile from a freeway interchange. The site is 0.96 miles from State Route 99. I'm still there. Finally, the farmland conversion will be mitigated with agricultural mitigation, which is a requirement for the conversion of agricultural land. And I'd just like to note here that the noise and traffic study to which I refer were posted with the initial study, but inadvertently left out of the staff report, and so we have copies of those available. This is a site plan submitted by the applicant depicting the proposed truck terminal. Let's see. The driveway is located here, the proposed driveway, directly across from Ideal Parkway. And the, whoopsie. And the proposed buildings are here. This photo is taken from the north side of State Route 120, looking southerly at the project site. This photo is taken looking north from the proposed location of the future driveway on the project site. This photo is taken in front of the project site, looking west down State Route 120. The required road improvements will be located here down the center, of the road, where they're required to extend the two-way turning lane. And over here, in front of the project site, where they're required to put a deceleration lane to the entrance of the site. It is recommended that the Planning Commission forward the project to the Board of Supervisors with the recommendations contained on this slide and in the staff report. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Now,
Oh, it went away.
any reason why, because I believe we were kind of doing the agriculture industrial, why they didn't go for that zoning and went with the truck terminal? Anything on that?
Excuse me. The application was applied for in 2018, and we didn't have that yet. So I don't think it was even considered
Okay,
after it became a zone.
okay. And because if I'm not mistaken, the trucking allowance for that is less than the IT, is that, or the truck terminal, is that correct?
You mean the number of trucks?
Yeah,
For the AI?
You can do 25 trucks and trailers combined, which is a zoning compliance, but you can ask for more in the AI zone. Yeah.
in the AI zone? Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll hear from the applicant. From the applicant, please.
Hi, my name is Carlos Vieira, and I'm the designer for the project. And the project came out because Global Carrier, they run 33 to 35 trucks, and they want to expand their business with the transfer dock. Doing that, they decided that they can, because they have they see some issues with the drivers not having a spot to park the trucks when they coming home for the weekend or to see the family. So they add those, they found out that they had that property and that will be a good project for their business and the other trucks that will be needing, a place to park for a week for a home visit. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that is for the project that'd like to speak here in the audience or online? Okay, not seeing anyone in the audience. Anyone online? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to those that are against or oppose the project. We will have, it's gonna be one at a time, 5 minutes each. We're gonna put the timer on. We're gonna really try not to be repetitive. If you hear someone from your community that's already voiced that same argument, please try to keep it going so everyone has a chance to speak. And it'd be even better if you guys could line up, if you can, right on the bottom front row and make a line for us would be.
We sent a thumb
Corinne,
drive to
the
the county,
presentation?
and they said it would be up to you if you could put it in your computer. And it addresses quite a few different issues. We did have the property surveyed down to Highway 99 according to Caltrans requirements, and it is.
Yeah, before you go, you have to say your name, your address, and
Okay,
where you're
I'm
speaking.
Bernard Gerald Madser, 11006 East Highway 120. Own the westerly property, 10 acres. Okay, and the project is over a mile.
Folks behind, if you could just sit in the front row so the other people could see.
Here's an additional thumb drive. My son was supposed to be here, he got stuck in traffic, so it went faster. But the housing subdivision is approximately 800 homes on Austin Road. They're supposed to put another 800 cars on Yosemite Avenue a day. None of that was considered in the traffic study. When they did the traffic study on our property to begin with and the sound study, we had 2 houses on the property. Neither one of those were considered under project in the initial findings. According to Caltrans, the deceleration lane for that area is approximately 345 feet. Their property is 330 foot wide, or 300. So I don't know without hitting Jake brakes how these guys are gonna be slowing down and making a turn. We also have a picture of the property, and it is offset 14 feet by Ideal Parkway. It's not in line with the entrance, it's offset 14 feet. And if you will plug in the thumb drive, I can.
Mr.
cover that.
Madzier, may I interrupt?
I'm sorry?
May I interrupt?
Yes, go ahead, Steph.
Commissioner Grunsky, his son did turn in a thumb drive. He was hoping that we could play it, and we do have it downloaded. I'm sorry it wasn't mentioned earlier. He actually, he thought that they would be permitted 5 minutes each, and so he made it 35 minutes long for 7 people to speak. And it would, of course, be up to you,
No,
the
it's
chair.
actually not a procedures. It's if someone's representing more than one person,
Okay.
they can have more than 5 minutes, but 35 minutes is not correct. But you can have 5 minutes, and the person behind you could have 5 minutes. The person behind you could have 5 minutes.
We have enough people
But
here.
Yeah,
we're
Thank
going
you.
to use their minutes to present this
If-
program.
Slideshow.
Understood. Yeah, they want their own, so that's the thing. I think that
Okay, these 2 guys.
I think you can probably get your point across on the project. We can give you more than 5 minutes, but 35 minutes it's not in our,
We'll try to highlight the important parts.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
To the chair, I do believe there was a question originally whether our system would allow for a thumb drive from someone else. We have been able to work with that, and Robert Johnston does have the presentation. And so if you are still requesting for that and the chair is okay going ahead and moving that forward, we can go ahead and play that thumb drive and provide the clicker, but that's up to you, Chair.
So the thumb drive is 35 minutes long, but you're only allowed 5 minutes to speak. So are we only watching 5 minutes of it?
So I believe what the chair was saying is actually pursuant to the rules, when there is a proponent that is representing, is the main, as the rules say, I believe it says the main proponent, and I can cite that rule if we need to do that. But I believe that's what the chair was referencing, that when there's a main proponent that is representing more than one individual speaker, they are allowed more time. 35 minutes or a time that the chair deems to not be reasonable is generally not allowed. So our rule does allow for a longer amount of time for a proponent representing numerous people,
So-
but not necessarily 35
So
minutes.
the video or the thumb drive, that's the proponent is representing all the rest of the people
Or I'm
here?
sorry, in this case, the opposition. It's either the main proponent or the main
Right.
opposition. Thank you for
So
clarifying. I
this
apologize.
is this gentleman's son is the main opposition information gatherer? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Hold on, ma'am, you do, if you are going to speak, I do need you to speak at the podium. My understanding, it was represented to staff, was that this gentleman is representing a number of opponents and was asking to then be to then fall under the rule that does allow for
So-
the primary opponent.
Okay, okay, so
Ultimately,
he's
it's-
representing other opposition members who are not sitting here. Is that correct?
Or who have otherwise allowed him to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
Our rule is very generic, and it does, and I will just go ahead and cite that, and it just says, the primary proponents and opponents, sort of each separately, shall be limited to 20 minutes of testimony. And again, we've interpreted that main opponent to mean one representing other people. And so those individuals would not then speak individually, and if they did speak individually, they would be limited to 5 minutes.
Correct. So my point is, we're not going to do 35 minutes as requested. What I want to see is something in a timely manner. You said you have some bullet points of the thumb drive.
Right.
And you can get a little more extended time because you do have a little presentation, but it's going to have to be reasonable so that the other people that don't want to be represented have a chance to speak, correct? How long is the shorter version?
I think that was said to be 20 minutes.
Okay.
And again, regardless of the media that's provided, you, of course, as the chair, do chair the meeting and are able to then end that time when it's compliant with the rules and as you see to move the meeting forward.
What's compliant for the rules in this situation?
No more than 20 under that rule.
Correct, okay.
And it could be less because, of course, you do have the discretion to, if it is getting redundant or
Repet,
it's
yeah.
otherwise not relevant, of
Okay.
course.
Well, let's start there. The shorter version, if I wasn't clear.
I apologize, but I can't stand up that long. I've got a chair up there. If I can get.
No, you're fine. I think they're going to do the
Lots of
presentation.
experience with Interstate Route 120 accidents and trying to help people in the middle of the highway when.
So
there
we'll
is
just
none.
provide him a mic. We do
I
need
just
that
don't
mic
want
for
on my
purposes of
doorstep
the
this
record.
facility.
Okay,
Any details were overlooked in this project, excluding our new homes being removed from the sound study, even though we paid taxes that year. The water and power rights for us were removed by Global and the county, so we had to get that corrected. The distance from the freeway is incorrect. It's over a mile to the site. That's been overlooked. We were refused a sound wall, even though it was over 65 decibels at our property line. The Caltrans requirements have been waived for the acceleration and deceleration lanes. I still can't understand that. The school bus sound study was used, and 17 truck parking in Tracy was used for the traffic study, which I don't agree with on this larger facility. Since the 25-foot tall lights are not being put on for the development title, I assume there will be no work at night outside. The address and vicinity map from 2019 were incorrect and county approved, so again, that's another item that was just overlooked. They overlooked the development, schools, subdivisions, and the general plan requirements in this area. Unfortunately, Manteca was late in creating their general plan in 2023. The population growth in 10 years is going to be 221,000 as they're anticipating. Traffic increases for big rigs are going to be 227% with more deaths, basically 0.15 up to 4 per year. This Yosemite Square subdivision is currently under construction. It's been planned since 2012. The sewer line is going to go in once the Austin Road overpass goes in. That means 7,741 daily trips on Austin without basically the Austin Road development at the corner. So there's going to be more traffic in our area. It wasn't considered in the traffic study. Ramus Expressway is another one. City of Manteca, if you look at their general plan, is going to extend the bike lane out to Ideal Parkway in front of Global, so that wasn't considered in the design. It also wasn't considered in the traffic study. Basically, they're turning our parcel, as you can see the bottom right corner, into a buffer between Global's industrial surrounded by ag with Ramus's commercial and residential homes. If you look north of the project across 120, there's 9.8 acres of residential that's going to be developed into housing or is intended. So that doesn't comply with the general plan because it's putting development in the way of. The orange oval circle to your right is going to identify Manteca Unified, where Global put in plus or minus 5 miles to the closest elementary school. It's actually 1.4 miles to Joshua Cal Elementary. I believe that will be used by the surrounding subdivisions that are going to be going in the path of Global, Yosemite Square.
Okay, so I believe so far, if you pause,
possibly
the main
residential
gist is an
development
issue
next.
with the traffic and traffic study. That's where we're at. Okay. Is there another part that addresses something besides the traffic? Yeah.
Yeah, the turn lanes, the deceleration, we've got a thing in here from Caltrans that shows that deceleration lane should be 345 foot long for Caltrans, and their property frontage is only a little over 300 feet. So they're going to be hitting those brakes hard because they're 50 feet short of making that. And you know, we started this many years ago, and on the first 2 times they applied, they had the wrong address on their application and the wrong APN number on it, and so they processed all the traffic studies and everything with the wrong information on it.
The amount of space from the interchange to the property.
Again, it'll come up, but we have a survey included that shows. I'm sorry. We have a survey included that shows that it's over 1 mile from the interchange. And when they first applied the first 2 times, they said it was 9/10 of a mile. This time they have it as less than 1 mile, but it's actually over 1 mile. And I have the local survey company certified. So.
Okay, and this on the screen right here, the county shall limit truck terminal locations limited areas within 1 mile of freeway interchange. That is current, correct? Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, we could go back to this a little bit.
Turning radiuses.
The turning radius are gonna be tough. The turning radius will be tough to have them turn into the access. Again, it's off. If you look where there's a slide, Ideal Parkway is not across from the entrance. It's 14 feet offset, which just depending. And we have PG&E less than half a block down the street, San Joaquin Water, American Cranes, and there's going to be a lot of traffic on Highway 120. And that also addresses in the city plan that they're going to have a bike path. Well, you know, but we're also concerned about all the 800 homes they're putting in on Austin. The kids are going to have to walk or be bused to the local schools, and there's no provision for that included. You can click through about 4 or 5 of those. You'll hear a click. Yeah, go ahead. There's a survey. This is the survey that we had done and includes, and it does show that it's over by state standards. Caltrans, it's over 1 mile. Yeah, you can put it back, the speaker back on.
San Joaquin County Development Title, a set of rules and regs that basically.
The audio I find difficult. The person's not here. They should be here if they want to
9-5.
speak. So I don't mind the slides. I think they're informative, but if the person's not going to be here to speak in person, we can't ask questions of them, so it's
Okay.
difficult for me. Unless anyone up here has anything. Okay.
Clicking through them,
Yeah, if you could click through some of these, that'd be great.
what's that?
Oh, that's the irrigation line and the property line. Let's go ahead.
So basically, we're having issues with the sound studies, the traffic studies,
Yes. And the distance from the highway.
and the distance from the highway.
The sound study was done from a school, vehicles rather than trucking vehicles.
Yeah, they did the sound study at a school bus terminal in Sacramento in a small trucking outfit in the wintertime. So they didn't even consider my son's house when we had the permit in the house there, and they didn't even consider it the sound study.
Okay, is there anything else specifically?
Can you just keep clicking? Safety-
Non-compliant.
Oh, are these the terms? No.
Yeah, well, I think that's ideal.
No, I understand what you're saying too, as far as the amount of space it takes for a truck to stop. So I speak that language, so I do know what you're saying there.
That's our son. He's just
Yeah.
getting into load, I think.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, and any questions?
I hope you take the time, he spent a lot of time on
Oh, I
this.
could tell.
We all have, and I hope you can spend the time and listen to that individually. We have 8 neighbors on Hart Lane that it's going to affect besides ourselves,
Yeah.
et cetera.
No, it will. Obviously, a lot of work was put in. I wish the person was here so we can question some of that as well. But there is some people here that would like to speak, and I think we can bring them up one by one and give each of you 5 minutes if that
And
works.
we did work well with the county planning
Yeah, I can.
department, but we had conflicts.
No, I understand. Good. And thank you.
Can he speak for just a moment, Matthew?
I'm going to let these people that are here speak. Okay, anyone like to speak? If we could also give that gentleman the call-in number, I think that'd be easier than. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Roberto Alanis. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I live at 2145 Tiffany Walk in Manteca, and that in the Camellia Gardens gated community, senior community. That is located probably a quarter mile from 99 on the corridor between the project and 99. I wrote an email to the planning department. I don't know if they shared it with the planning commission, but that was back on June 18th. And basically, it said that I wanted to express my concern and opposition to the project, my concern about the health and the safety hazards posed by this project and other projects that are going on in that part of the region, outside of the city and in the city. Off Austin Road, we have a development that's pending right now construction started, 400 new homes. With the work that will be done on 99 and the Austin Road interchange, residents of those properties will be coming on to Highway 99 to access, coming up to 120 to access Highway 99. There are also 2 other senior communities along that corridor. The Almond Blossoms Estate, which is 139 units, and the El Rancho Mobile Home, 281 units. So between our 80 units, that's over 500 senior homes that are in that corridor. Frankly, many of us are already challenged on leaving our properties and getting onto 120 to get into town or onto 99. So we're concerned that this is just going to make it more difficult for us. And unfortunately, as we age, our reaction times don't get faster, as you know. So I pointed out that there are 3 communities that are impacted. The Austin Road now, as we've heard, will not provide access for those trucks. It really narrows it down to coming across our driveways, across our entrances for those trucks. So basically, those are the key concerns. I urge the commission to consider the factors. I was a planning commissioner for 8 years in the city of Manteca. I understand that our role, and I also learned during those 8 years that it's very important to consider beyond just the technical boundaries of a project and what the legal requirements are. We represent our communities and the people in our areas, so I urge you to consider all of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you, commissioners. My name is Julie Haley. I live at 18303 Hart Lane. I also own the property 18289 Hart Lane. My property touches the boundaries in which they're going to have the big holding tank of water and chemicals, and I'm not happy about it. And I was born in Stockton in 1954, and I moved out there so that I could have some quiet. I could have chose to move to some sort of trucking station. I didn't. This is not an appropriate business for Highway 120. Highway 120 has always been the gateway to Yosemite. The people who travel that, once they get off the freeway, there are 3 to 5 fruit stands, well known that they stop, park their cars, run across the street, come back, and you want to turn this into a big commercial business as opposed to keeping it a fun tourist area for people to commute from the Bay Area to Yosemite. That's why I moved there. I did not get any say on the fact that this man has 10 acres and is trying to invent something to fill his 10 acres. There's a property available at Jacktone Road next to the Flying J, which would love that business. This is a farm community, farm and family first. There is nothing family about this business that benefits one landowner and not the rest of us. And the traffic study did not look at anything from Jacktone Road going westbound. Jacktone Road going to and from I-20 to the Bay Area is a cornerstone. They have a humongous facility there already existing with showers. There are vacant lots for sale that would be much more appropriate for this. I wish you would hold your land until you get 40 acres and open a housing development. Okay, that's least family values. Now, on my other ideas that I have here is that when the study was made, first he started 6 years ago with his permit. 4 years ago, they did the studies. Right during COVID, there were no cars on the road to study. The cars are back now. I live in Hart Lane. You're proposing to stop all of it right there. I will be killed trying to get out of my own driveway. You have got, if you're going to do this, you got to contend all the way to Jack Road, to Austin. Don't piece it every time something comes up. Where's the master plan? Have a master plan. Make that area beautiful for when people come out of town, they might want to shop there. Okay, this is not the type of business that any of us want. Housing brings in more tax money than that business. That business will cause pollution. It's going to jeopardize our children, our churches. We have 3 churches right there. They can't drive in and drive out. And you're suggesting a sign that points to the left and say, everybody go that way? They're not going to do it.
So, ma'am, on this Over,
Somebody talking?
yes.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
I thought God was talking
I'm not that
to me.
important. yeah.
Don't worry, it's not God.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. So the initial, first, are we timing the comments? Have we, okay.
I thought I had 5.
You did, I was just checking. So the initial, I'm just trying to put, traffic is the traffic and
Pollution,
the use and a better, okay.
better use for that valuable land. If you're not going to use it for
That's- yeah,
farming, please use it for families.
Understood.
Okay, that's what we've been known for years. Okay, do I have to leave?
No, you don't have to. I was just,
So it was clear, when you did speak, we did go ahead and pause to make sure that that continued on. So that was the interruption. We react that way sometimes when he talks too. It's fine, go ahead.
yeah, I was just trying to get the cliff notes in my own brain of what a lot of it is the traffic seems to be the major issue so far, but thank you.
So on I-20 between Austin, which is where our county starts, and Jacktone Road, which is the most world-famous fruit stand. We all shop there, okay? But when summer is, after COVID, it's booming. They back up trying to get on the freeway, which is over a mile away. I cannot get out and make a left turn. I have to wave at the drivers and ask them to open up a space. Can I get in? And now we're going to have trucks. These tourists are not thinking of big trucks. They've never been on that road that way. So, yes, traffic has to be examined all the way from Jacktone, because those truck drivers take Jacktone, and then they'll get on 120. And there's nothing that's being said about our road, how we're going to safely, or Boggs, get in and out safely, or that church to get in and out safely. Just the one exit and a couple signs, and we know truck drivers follow all signs. Yeah, right. So the last thing is, when you are using,
Lori, just wrap it up.
okay, one other thing. We did talk about the corridor of I-5 and 120. The thing that happened, which you did not have on your survey, is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A came in and has changed our world. We cannot cross a road.
Well, we're gonna have some, that is time, we're gonna let some other people speak, but we do have some questions on the traffic study as well.
So I'm done, right?
You are done. Thank you so much, though. It's gonna be one of you two, might as well, yeah. Smart.
Well, okay, my name is Dan Haley, and I also live on Hart Lane, and I am going to dwell on the traffic a bit, but I thought I had a couple points that hadn't been made yet. I believe it's inaccurate, incomplete, and obsolete as well. There's a diagram, as was mentioned, that shows the distance from the freeway as being 0.96 miles, but that figure is misleading. It really only measures from the northbound exit ramp to the nearest west side boundary of the proposed property, 0.96. So that's very close to 1 mile, and I thought I saw in some correspondence afterwards that people were rounding it down to 0.9, which is definitely inaccurate. The point is that really the measurement should be from the freeway itself, not from the nearest exit ramp. The other exit ramp for the southbound people is over 1 mile away, 1.1 miles, and northbound traffic won't even be using this exit ramp, in my opinion, because if you're coming on 99 north, your GPS directs you to get off at either Austin or Jacktone Road to get to this facility with the fewest miles. Those two routes are the most direct routes, and Jacktone Road is a well-known truck plaza that caters to trucks. So I would guess that that will be the overwhelming majority of the traffic, and Austin will be second, and this particular exit that is shown in the single diagram in the study will only be catered to the ones coming across town on 120 from I-5 and coming eastbound and wanting to continue on 120. And that is, I think, 25% of the population of the trucks. So 75% of the population of the trucks is not covered by that one diagram, in my opinion. Also, the traffic will be much heavier than when this study was performed in 2020 during COVID, and is already very heavy, and it's a 2-lane road, and because of the new housing announced on Austin, it's just going to be obsolete, this particular study. So it sounds to me like they're bending the rules to accommodate one landowner,
to place a facility at this location when really it should be closer to the freeway. And currently, this proposal is not in the spirit of the general plan by doing such exercises to get it within the 1.0 mile limit. We would like the surveyors access to the surveyors and the map, especially since I heard it was inaccurate, and an updated traffic study to include both Austin and Jacktone Road from 99 to the facility.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alan de la Garza. I live on the corner of Hart Lane and Highway 120. The last 2 months, I work on the bay and I come back. I try to stop by to put gasoline or buy a Coke or something on the truck stop that is on the Highway 199 and Jacktone. And I stand up outside and I can hear the trailers that are there. They don't shut off, right? They keep running. So the amount of noise that that truck stop does, I just close my eyes, I transfer it to this new project, and it's gonna be bad, very bad, because the trailers needs to keep running, right? Especially when it's cold. The drivers sleep in there. And then you go to the store, and it's full of people, right? Which is normal. I mean, you have, I don't know, 90, 100 trailers there. That's the amount of people that is going to be there. Where are they going to go, right? Where are they going to walk? In our streets, in our neighborhood. So that's a big concern. When we say noise, I mean noise of the trailers, not noise of the fixing of the trailers, right? The bzz, 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 the engines and the smell of the diesel is going to be very bad.
The overnight of the refrigerated unit running.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's a big concern. I have a big family. We moved from Lathrop to this place because we want something quiet, something bigger, something that we can make our house. And with this project, it's going to be quite challenging to understand all the noise and all the smell and not the noise of the trailers or the traffic, which is a big concern, but the smell and the noise of the trailers running.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, next.
John Boggs at 11257 East Highway 120. That place is my house. My driveway goes exactly between Concominex and Ideal Way. I live on the north side behind Ideal Parkway and Concominex. And I'm kind of a little bit different. I think we should rezone all that area. There's not a 40-acre parcel within a quarter mile of this parcel. And they should not worry about agriculture. That place hasn't been farmed in 2 years. You're not going to lose anything there. But I don't think, I do think there needs to be truck parking. I used to be involved in trucks, and trucks they're vital, whatever, but not here. It's not conducive to the neighbors. There's 6 people that are right there. I live behind the 2 other industrial parks, and they're very good neighbors, but I'm a quarter of a mile behind where the trucks and Bright Trucking came in, and you can hear them. They're unhooking and hooking, and the air brakes and stuff. I'm far enough away, it's not a bad deal, and something nobody, for me, but for my neighbors that are going to be 50 yards away from all this going on, I'm worried about. And I do think the areas can be developed because these little 10-acre parcels are not agricultural places. This county should get together and say, this is what we're going to do. But I just heard tonight that Manteca thinks they're going to go clear to Jacktone Road. So, and then one thing people haven't brought up is lights. Some people on Concominex have added some lights, and my yard is pretty much lit up a quarter mile away from those, and the 6 homes or 8 homes that are impacted by this development, their backyard will be in light all the time. And I think we need to have truck stuff, but not at this spot. Thank you.
Understood, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Walt Shynook. I live at 18091 Hart Lane, right next to De La Garza. And like John was just saying about the lights, if I stand out in my backyard and go to my garage, the lights are shining across from the other side of 120. That's one thing. My property, it butts right up against Global, and in the evening when I'm standing out there, when they had a Mexican taco truck, you could smell the food being cooked and drawn into my house. My wife has just gotten over cancer, and the diesel smell is cancerous. It's very dangerous. The reefer noise was said already. It also brings homeless people. It brings prostitution. They're going to have truck repair, which is going to be noisy, the beeping noise backing up. Anyway, just a few small things that I'm concerned about. And this global carrier should look elsewhere to do a truck stop instead of an area where it's residential, so to say. I guess I put everything in a nutshell. But one other thing I want to say is that the studies that have been done by the county seems like they didn't do their work very well. I think they need to be reviewed and done over again, according to what I've heard and the distances and so forth, you know. So that's pretty much everything I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience? Well, yes, Commissioner Rooster, well, you know, those of you sitting in the sun right back there, you can move to a shadier spot if you would like. You're just getting beat up by the sun, but, okay, there you go. Okay, do we have anyone? I would rather not. No, that's what I'm saying. It should be able to.
Do you want to take a recess to check that audio?
Yeah, and just so, I mean, we've covered a lot, I think, and so he's gonna be limited to the 5 minutes instead of the 20-minute presentation that I think we've already, yeah. Let's just take a 5 minute, do you think you can get figured out in 5 minutes, or who knows, or? Gotcha. Well, let's do this, let's just take a 5-minute break, and everyone can use the restroom or whatever, and we'll get right back to it. So we're just taking a 5-minute recess, folks. No votes will happen.
Is his name Craig? I'm so sorry. Just checking if you can hear us.
Is now joining.
Ju- Are you able to hear us online with the phone number 209-403?
Yes.
Okay, just checking, is this Matt? Oh, we lost him.
Is now exiting.
No, years ago. Jerry, one time was a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah, they can't use one.
Jerry, who's got the Camellia Gardens? Who has the Camellia Gardens?
It's all private. It's like Del Webb, it's private. Right. 40 houses. I want to see like that.
We even have my daughter who works in the police station came and do a interview to my wife on the
That's not in the report, and maybe the report was a little bit misleading. Yeah, and so that's why I wanted to say, 4 years ago, it was COVID, there was no one in there. Now, we have, oh gosh, I was really in that lane, I couldn't do that, I had to go through the drive-thru, all I wanted to do was get the dollar store. They had cones, I'm like, I don't want them.
Did you want a
I
hamburger or
had to,
something?
I said, what do you sell? They said chicken, I said, give me one.
In the corner, on the corner.
You know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm with you. I know, I mean, yeah.
They need to turn like all the way to the intersection. I am not kidding. Because there's all these little roads, and if they're gonna have big trucks. I already talked to somebody on the phone a long time this morning to get my tonight, so
Matthew Madser.
Is now
I'm here.
joining.
Alrighty, just double checking, you can hear us on the phone?
Yes. How long do you think it'll be your break?
We should be wrapping up pretty quick. So give us one moment and we'll let you know when it's your turn to speak, okay?
All right, I'm gonna mute. I should mute my phone, correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
But it might be like a star, like a star
Actually, don't mute yourself for right now. Just hold on for a second.
Okay, we're going to get back to it. I think we have some good news on the technology front. Thank you, Robert. Got the job done. Awesome. Okay, we will give this gentleman his 5 minutes.
Sorry, when does the time start?
Sir?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, we're going to give you 5 minutes, and go ahead and start whenever.
I apologize. Can you say that one more time, please?
Go ahead and start. Go ahead and start. You got 5 minutes.
Okay. So I turned in the thumb drive when they told me to before, and evidently I had 7 people there, so I should have had 35 minutes. I don't know what happened, but that's unfortunate. In regards to global carriers, they started this project in 2019. Our rights were overlooked. We almost lost our water, our power. We spent 2 or 3 years having to fight this thing because they improperly submitted their plans with improper details. The second thing is San Joaquin County General Plan. It does state 1 mile from the freeway. They're over a mile from the freeway. It's 1 mile and 30 feet. That's unfortunate, but in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. They need to plan for that. They should have developers. They should have people researching before they submit. On their application, the STAA turns. It's on a STAA route, so they do need STAA turns in their templates. We've never seen those. They've never been submitted that I know of. The second thing is Joshua Cal School, 1.4 miles away. It's not plus or minus 5 miles. That's a huge safety concern for the local public. So I don't know how that happened or how it got overlooked, but it did. The next thing we have is development title. And all these items here disqualify the project for make it non-approvable because unfortunately it doesn't qualify for the things needed to approve it. Development title 9-505.6 A, B, and C, and 9-505.A, B, number 7. So we were overlooked on the sound study. I don't know how that happened. We paid our taxes to the San Joaquin County tax assessor, but they just forgot. The next thing we have is I don't want to see any work at night since they not putting any lights. So that was also in the sound study. It was projected 75 decibels over the property line. That's why they're required to put in the sound wall. Again, it was bypassed by the county. It was bypassed by the applicant. We were just shorthanded because everybody forgot or didn't pay attention to detail. Same thing with our irrigation, water, and power. They just didn't look at it correctly. They forgot. It was their mistake. And so, unfortunately, I'm stuck there losing. It even comes back to our real estate values and our land use. You can see that Rainless is going to put in 300 homes next to us on the west, and we're going to be a stuck buffer in the middle with no ability to change our property value. What that's going to do to us is destroy our land value. I feel for my neighbors on Hart Road or Hart Lane because they're going to have AG 40 zone properties. They're not going to be able to resell to the public for prime price because it's going to be destroyed by global terrorist talking and the use of it. The next thing we have is the development title. 9-505.7, I believe it's A and B, says we're supposed to have acceleration and deceleration rates. Somehow Public Works in 17 states decided to waive those requirements. I'm not sure how it's done. There's 4 letters from Caltrans from 2018 to 2020 requesting requiring those items. But it was approved with those items being waived. So I'd like that to be explained to us. The next thing is the STAA terms. Caltrans couldn't ask into the template. I don't think they've ever been done. The use of the space has changed from a private facility with 142 beds now to a 100 million truck facility that is open to the public. You can't control what trucks are going to come into that site. So you need to see those turn templates for the wider turning radius. It is also located on the STAA route, which requires those turn templates in that site. The use of and trucking. Now it's going to increase the daily trips. I don't know how they did a traffic study in Tracy, but it was based on 17 to 22 trucks in the February month. Those are the slower months out of the year, and they used 17 to 22 trucks. That's now putting in 109. That facility may or may not have had a loading dock. So it's not a fair comparison. These are not the safety concerns that the county basically cares about. They overlooked it or they just approved it. So I have real problems with the safety of the public in this area of the intersection. The facility in Tracy refers to the traffic study that was heavily relied on by the county to approve this project. So we haven't seen any conflicting turns from SSJID, Ideal Parkway, or this facility entering or exiting. Again, this facility is over a mile from.
Okay, sir, thank you. We are at 5 minutes, and we will ask if there's anyone else online that would like to speak.
Could I add one more pertinent picture to what that thing, my presentation?
Yeah, you can add, if you can find it real quick.
If you can find it. It shows this gentleman's property. It shows this gentleman's property on the easterly border of there, and he has trees 20-foot high coming right out to his property line. Those trucks are gonna have to get their 8 feet out, 10 feet out in front of those trees to make a right or right-hand turn, because the visual is blocked.
I saw that in the, what was sent to us in the email. I know what you're talking about with the trees, and the trees would have to be removed. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, now, if there's no one else here, how about the rebuttal from the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is George Roderakis. I'm an attorney at Roderakis and Souza in Modesto, California. And I'm going to briefly make a statement for the applicant. To the extent that anyone would have any technical questions for any of the opposition, Mr. Vieira is definitely better equipped. He spoke at the beginning and he could come back up to address. But what I wanted to point out is, so my client first applied, as was stated at the beginning of the hearing, in 2018, and has worked hand in hand with the county, with the planners to work through this project. Mr. Madzer, who we heard from the telephone, and his father earlier, has been submitting email after email since 2020, raising all the same issues that have been raised. They've all been addressed during the process. As has been pointed out, there have been traffic studies, which appears to be a critical question or issue from the opponents. My clients have spent almost $100,000 on this project. They've taken everything seriously up until now, including the traffic study, including the noise study. I think it's important to point out, this is not Flying J. This is not a truck stop. It is a truck terminal. It is intended to be a parking lot for trucks, as Mr. Vieira also pointed out at the beginning. Under the initial plan, there was going to be an about 80-foot wall on the west side between this property and the Madzer's property. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name. Since then, and to address their noise concerns and other things, my client has agreed, they've agreed to everything that's been asked of them so far, to go from 80 feet to 1,300 feet, a 10-foot high masonry wall around 3 sides of the property, east, west, and south. There is no holding tank, so I'm not sure what that was. And there will be a gate along the north side. This is a parking lot, there isn't going to be overnight Flying J shopping. Drivers are not allowed to stay the night there. The shop is for brakes and tires, which will be during normal business hours, not all night. So several issues that understandably people were concerned about, but I think it's important to make those issues clear. Again, if anyone has any technical questions, Mr. Vieira is more than willing to come back up and address those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to bring it back up to the commission at this time.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Yeah, I guess the first one, and this is either for staff or Mr. Vieira. It does say on the traffic impact analysis that was presented to us, it was done on March 16, 2020. The state of California locked down on March 13th of 2020, because I remember it visibly as a school teacher, we went to online teaching. And we all know how that worked out. So the question is this: why? I actually believe that there wasn't much traffic on the road when the study was done. So I need to know, was the study done and dated as March 16th, 2020? Was it done before March 16th, 2020? And why haven't we done an updated one when we submitted the final request as of now?
Chair Grunsky, members of the commission, I'm Cheyenne Raymond, Engineering Services Manager with the Public Works Department. So the traffic study commenced before that date. Traffic counts were collected in August of 2019. The traffic study itself identified, and as was pointed out by other individuals, that the traffic study took assumptions based off of other projects. So it took empirical data coupled with our engineering practices and determined that the number of trucks in a peak hour, so level of services are determining factor, was insignificant to the total number of what are called passenger car equivalents. So we look at the current snapshot in time with the proposed projects that we know of. We look into the future with the cumulative project impacts, and the project site in a given hour generates roughly 10 passenger car equivalents. The original application had 142 trucks and trailers, and the revised application had 109. So based off of the impacts being insignificant for the most part, and the reduction in trucks and trailers, the traffic engineer determined that an updated study wasn't warranted. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else up here?
Well, I sort of scribbled down some of the things. Obviously, traffic concerns is quite large and a sticking point for those who spoke in opposition. I do have a question to the applicant. Was there anyone who lives in this area in favor of what you want to do? Because we haven't heard from anybody other than the applicant. Okay, another question I have, it was brought up about the senior living communities and the traffic impact of the three, I think, within that area. Could somebody, is that in this analysis as well? Okay, hold it. I got a few more here. So it's been brought up about measurements from the highway, from the off-ramp to where the truck stop is proposed to be. Can somebody explain where the measurement starts and where it ends, just so we all know it?
Yeah, through the chair, I can help out with that. The general plan requires for the truck terminal zone that it's in areas within 1 mile of a freeway interchange. It doesn't specify exactly where that is measured from, it's just the freeway interchange. For the AI zone, which as we were talking about earlier, that is specific to being measured from the center line of the freeway. For the truck terminal, it's just 1 mile from a freeway interchange. So we measure it from the first time you're gonna hit any part of that freeway, which could be on or off ramps.
Okay, and it was cleared up, there will be no night work, and that's why no lights were submitted. Let's see. School safety, I don't think I brought that one up. That was brought up as well. So in the ordinance that we have, is there something that says you cannot have this type of business so close to a school?
Again, through the chair, no, we don't have anything like that in the development title. We would generally lean on a traffic study, any kind of level of service, and have the location if it was an issue.
Okay, just to speak clearly, I'm not a huge fan of this project. I think we have agriculture and industrial to address the truck parking in the area, which has been used and done very well. And that's for those of you who don't know, that's a new zoning. And it wouldn't accommodate this level of volume. This is a zone reclassification. Now, if all these neighbors were here and it was already zoned truck terminal, I'd say, hey, that's just the way it goes. But this is a zone reclassification. And the gentleman was right. It will be used for something else. It's 10 acres. It's not viable as ag land. But I don't think a truck terminal is right for that. But it will be. You will probably be here fighting something else at some point, if not appealing up to the county supervisors. But I'm just not in favor of this project at this time.
Yeah, I'm in opposition to this as well.
Okay, Commissioner Sangha, would you like to say anything?
Hi, Chair. Yes, I was listening to everybody very carefully. So this again begs the question, like, who do we're definitely here to listen to the public, which is who we serve. But the county is recommending what they're recommending after doing their job with the staff and the planners and the engineers and everybody. My main concern was also the distance. How was it measured? But my colleague had that question answered, so I'm not going to repeat that. But this is, yes, this is a zone reclassification, so it's not something that's been determined already. But since the county is recommending it, and this has been going on since 2018, I understand the opposition, but I also understand that, it was experts who did the job. It was the county who did the job and the staff. And we do go against the staff's recommendations sometimes. But I believe that, listening to their attorney also, they have done everything that was asked of them. So I will go ahead and support this project.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sangha. Anyone else that would like to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Oh, no, it's not that time. We're bringing it back to the commission. Okay, do we have a motion from anyone up here? You can you could make that motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we reject the item 4 and not accept the recommendations as presented.
I second that motion. We have a vote?
Commissioner Midgley? No. Commissioner Sangha? Commissioner Sangha?
No?
Commissioner Roostoller?
You say, if you're in favor of rejecting.
In favor,
it's a
so
yes.
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Mealis?
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky?
Yes. Okay, project does not pass. Thank you for coming. And thank you for participating in the process. Yeah, and the applicant is able to appeal to the Board of Supervisors. I thought for sure, I knew you were gonna get confused on that, because I was like, I think there's better options. Just do a smaller footprint for me. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on, folks, to item 5, administrative use permit number PA 2300166. If we could hear from staff.
Hi, thank you. We have Associate Planner Nancy Arroyo here to enter the presentation.
Matthew Madser is now exiting.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This project is an administrative use permit application for a 100-foot tall monopole telecommunication tower with related equipment within a 2,046 square foot lease area unmanned facility. The project is located at the San Joaquin Club property at the northeast corner of South Cassin Road and South Airport Way. The River Club is approximately 400 acres and contains over 400 residences. The project site has a general plan designation of resource conservation and a zoning designation of general agriculture 40-acre minimum. The proposed tower location is indicated by the star towards the bottom of each figure. This is a site plan submitted by the applicant, which shows the location of the proposed tower in the southern part of the River Club property. The applicant is proposing to access the tower from the east side of Cassin Road, which is located, well, I don't know how to work this thing, right here. Pursuant to development title, towers and associated antennas need to be set back from all property lines a distance that is at least equal to the height of the tower, which is 100 feet in this case. The proposed tower meets this requirement and is located more than 130 feet from the nearest house. The proposed tower may be conditionally permitted in the AG40 zone with an administrative use permit, which is typically approved at staff level. However, due to the amount of opposition, the project has been referred to the Planning Commission for review. Communication towers are regulated by the FCC and Telecommunication Act. Pursuant to the Telecommunication Act, the county shall not deny and has no discretion to deny an application for wireless communication facility if there is a significant gap in cellular coverage. The applicant demonstrated a gap in coverage and reviewed 5 alternative sites in the surrounding area to close the service gap. The alternative sites were not sufficient based on lack of adequate space, access to power, or access to utilities necessary to establish the tower and related equipment. The subject parcel was selected as the most viable site and will close the service gap. The figure on the left shows the existing coverage, and figure on the right shows the coverage after the tower is installed. The darker color represents a stronger coverage. The project has been determined to be exempt from an environmental review under Class 3 categorical CEQA exemption. The court in Don't Sell Our Parks versus City of San Diego determined that communication towers, like the one proposed in this project, qualify for the Class 3 exemption. Accordingly, as a matter of law, cell towers like the one proposed are a new small facility or structure, which is within the scope of exemption. As a result, a notice of exemption will be filed if the project is approved. The department received comment letters from 23 members of the River Club, 22 in opposition and 2 in support. A letter in support was sent on behalf of the applicant, Vertical Bridge. Additionally, CDD received a few opposition letters the last couple days. The opposition raised concerns regarding the signing of the application, habitat, aesthetics, health, and property taxes. The administrative use permit application was signed by the Chief Executive Officer of the San Joaquin River Club at the time of the application. Staff and council reviewed and determined that the application was sufficient for processing. Additionally, a lease agreement and a letter of authorization between the River Club and Vertical Bridge was submitted, which allows Vertical Bridge to submit for all building and land use permits required to construct and operate the tower. As previously noted, the tower is exempt from SEQA. However, the San Joaquin Council of Governments determined the project is subject to the San Joaquin Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan. As recommended condition of approval, participation in the habitat will be required prior to issuing any building permits. Opposition raised concerns about the proposed tower's impact on views, California Historic Landmark, Rainbow Lake, and Altamont Hills. The project site is not located along a local scenic roadway, and the applicant proposes to paint the tower green to blend into the environment. Therefore, impacts on views and aesthetics will be less than significant. The tower will be required to comply with FCC regulations regarding radio frequency emissions. An independent consultant verify the tower will comply with the FCC guidelines and determine the tower will emit a radio frequency lower than FCC standards. Lastly, impacts on property taxes are outside the purview of the Community Development Department. It is recommended that the Planning Commission approve the project with the recommendations shown on this slide and included in the staff report. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentations.
Thank you so much. Questions for staff? I have a question. I need my memory jogged. I remember we had one of these in Ripon, and it was kind of a moot point from us, if I remember. What is our legality here, if we can hear from county council?
I appreciate the question. I will clarify, staff did describe that well. I'll just go ahead and clarify. You actually do have discretion to approve or deny the project in front of you. That said, because the project proponent has shown that there's a significant gap, in this case, denial of the project will be in violation of the Federal Telecommunications Act. So although you do have jurisdiction and discretion, if you deny based on the evidence and the information that the applicant has provided to staff, staff has reviewed with due diligence and made findings on and based their recommendation to you on, I have concluded that, in my opinion, it would be a violation of the act. So you do have discretion, but if you deny, there's definitely some concerns.
Regardless, it's going to happen, basically, because it.
Pardon?
Regardless, it's going to happen because they're showing the gap in coverage. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I can sort of walk you through that if you want me to do that, just so that you have clarification. Would that be helpful?
I think we get the gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
So if you look at most of these letters, they talk about how the board, the executive board, the president, vice president, secretary, they had no right to enter into agreement. We don't have any legality or, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not in our purview that's up to them to take to court if they feel that way, that their CC&Rs have been violated. Is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner. At this point, based on the information that we had when staff received the application, they did due diligence, they did talk to me, and I did review very clearly whether they had done sufficient due diligence to determine that at the time the application was submitted, that the applicant met the county requirements regarding that application. From a legal standpoint, they had the legal ability to apply for that application, and that was how we move forward. And so essentially, to the extent there's a contract dispute or a question of individual authority or liability between the three parties that are kind of at issue here, which in our case is, of course, the River Club as an entity, River Club members, and the applicant, which is the cell tower proponent, to the extent that they have conflicts, those are civil conflicts that are, as you stated, not within the purview of the Planning Commission. Again, staff is bringing you something we have vetted in terms of the applicant being legally able to move the project forward, and so that's where we are tonight. So those issues are irrelevant to the project, and I'm sure you will hear from folks on them, but that's our position on it. So, and I have confirmed, again, due diligence on the application, on the processing, and the project's pieces as it's come to you.
And they've shown that there is a gap in coverage. Is that correct to you?
Correct. So on the river, on the issues in terms of civil issues, I have no legal concerns for the county making a determination on the applicant, on the application. To the extent we're talking about the Federal Telecommunications Act, yes, I believe what's before you they have identified a significant gap in coverage. And the other key thing that we looked at before we brought it to you was that the proposed location, the applicant does need to show it's the least intrusive means to close that gap, and they have demonstrated those two things. So if they don't demonstrate those things, then of course we have the ability to deny a project without violation, but unless, the way that it goes is the applicant needs to show both that there's a gap and that the proposed site is the least intrusive. And unless, this is where the burden shifts, we can talk about this on the Ripon one, at that point, unless the county can show that there's the existence of a potentially available and technologically feasible alternative to the proposed location, the county is not aware of any feasible alternative to the proposed location, so they have a gap. It is the least intrusive as far as we've seen, and we have no alternative. Accordingly, if we deny it, it is my opinion, we would be in violation of the Telecommunications Act.
With the prevalence of Starlink and things like that, does that not show a separate technology available to people if they do want coverage with low orbit satellites and things like that?
So those do exist. At this point, the county does not have the means by which to look specifically for this location and whether Starlink or some other alternative is potentially available and technologically feasible. What it does is it shifts the burden onto the county in order to perform those tests. At this point, we did not perform those specific tests, and so the county staff is not aware of any available alternative. Now, I will say within your discretion, if you feel like that is a study that county staff should undertake, it would be something that you could theoretically direct staff to do. But at this point, staff has determined that they are not aware of such an alternative.
Well, I think we can direct staff that way at some point, or it should be an administrative thing if we don't have, I think we've discussed this before, it should just be over the counter versus bring it to us if we actually don't have any say in the matter.
And through the chair, I will tell you that is absolutely in the works at the department level, because there have been so many, text changes and whatever. But that is an absolute thing that we're looking to shift to do. And jurisdictions all over are shifting that way. It is a very difficult position for jurisdictions.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on. Thank you very much for all that. I hope all of you here in opposition understand what is available to us, which is very little. But with that being said, we will hear from the applicant.
Hi, we've got a PowerPoint presentation. Is that loaded? And how do we advance the slides and things like that?
Do we need this? This is to go next, and this is if you want to highlight anything.
Okay. Got it. So good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. Kevin Sullivan for Vertical Bridge. We also have here tonight Bill Lewis. He's the site acquisition and the planning consultant for Vertical Bridge on this project. Bill is going to give a quick handout. There's a slight supplement that we want to make to our PowerPoint presentation with some materials that didn't make it into the staff report or the staff presentation. So I'm going to break partway through this. Bill's going to go through 4 slides that you have, and then it'll come back to me and I'll finish. So I'll give just a second while we finish passing that out. So a few key project elements here. First, this facility will provide new and improved T-Mobile wireless coverage and capacity for this part of the Tracy community. The lease area is just a tiny fraction of the entire 412-acre parcel that's involved. The facility project is going to involve minor grading for an access road on mostly flat ground, and there's going to be minor foundation work, which means there's going to be very limited landform alteration. After construction, the facility is going to be unoccupied, and so it's going to generate virtually no traffic except for some occasional maintenance trips. The leased area is going to have a 6-foot-high CMU block wall, and the equipment is all going to be 6 feet high or lower, so you won't see the equipment that supports the facility. As noted in the staff report, there was an alternative site analysis that was done. We took a look at least 5 other possible locations, and they were rejected for a variety of reasons. One, either property owners weren't interested in doing a lease, there were maybe potential environmental impacts or other site considerations at other locations that made putting the facility there infeasible, or it was infeasible to bring utilities to the site. As noted, the facility will have to comply with the FCC radio frequency, or RF, health safety standards, and notably, those standards were reaffirmed by the FCC in a very detailed and specific order in December of 2019. And then county staff has determined that the facility and the project comply with all of the county standards and regulations and codes with respect to land use and design regulations. So environmentally, as noted, the project qualifies for a CEQA categorical exemption because the facility will not result in any significant environmental impacts. The property is not in or near any designated scenic roadways or corridors. It's not in or near any historic resources, and it's not in or near any sensitive species or habitat areas. The facility is going to be designed with a 15-foot fall zone. The facility is going to comply with all county codes, including those with respect to noise, water quality, and fire protection. And the nearby segments of East Durham Ferry Road and is it Casson or Cason Road? Casson Road have many tall trees and other vegetation along the roads. And there's also a lot of tall utility poles and lines of utility poles with cross arms, transformers, and attached high utility lines. This is all part of the visual landscape for the area where the facility is proposed to be placed. So here is a kind of an aerial showing the approximate location of the facility. I think the staff report has specific, site drawings that show things in a little more detail and with specificity. But in general, this identifies where the site is going to be. You see trees along East Durham Ferry Road. You see some trees along Casson Road. There are trees to the north of the site, before you get to some of the cottages or the homes there, and then other trees around the area, all which assist in providing some screening for the facility. Here is a view looking southwest on East Durham Ferry Road toward the intersection of Casson Road. You can see the approximate location of where the site's going to be, but then you see all the trees in the area, and then you see a lot of tall utility poles and lines. The utility poles have cross arms. Here's a view on East Durham Ferry looking in the same direction, but closer to the intersection. The site is going to be over on the right. You can see the trees there, all of these tall utility poles with cross arms and lines. And then here's at the intersection of East Durham Ferry and Casson. And you can see again where the site's going to be on the right, the trees, and then other parts of the visual landscape there with these tall utility poles with cross arms and lines. And then finally, here's another view looking northwest on Casson Road, showing trees and other elements of the visual landscape. At this point, we're going to break real quick, and Bill Lewis is going to walk through some of the photo simulations that were done for this project that hadn't made their way into materials before the commission.
Hi, thank you, commissioners. Again, my name is Bill Lewis, representing Vertical Bridge. So before you, there were 4 slide views. The first view is the first page, looking north on Durham Ferry Road. On the bottom left-hand side is the existing photo. On the right-hand side is a proposed monopole, which will be painted green. If you turn to the second page, it's same format. The bottom left-hand is the existing view. The larger photo on the right is the proposed view. This is looking southeast on Casson. You can see it's going to be blocked, a majority of it, by some of the existing trees in the area. The third slide is looking south from across the river. Again, a lot of the existing trees are going to be blocking or screening the majority of the tower, and it's difficult to see from this view. And then the last photo, or the last page, is going to be looking southwest on Durham Ferry Road. Again, you can see roughly half of the site is going to be screened by existing trees within the area.
Great. So next, we're going to talk about the substantial gap, and I know the chair raised an issue about Starlink. Let me just clarify one thing, that under the Telecommunications Act and the cases, the federal cases that have interpreted it, they have been very clear, not just in the Ninth Circuit, but across the nation, that the issue is whether the particular applicant carrier has a significant gap, not whether other carriers or other possibilities in the area have a gap. So the issue with respect to Starlink, it's interesting, but it doesn't resolve the legal issue. T-Mobile here has a significant gap in this area. We're going to show more on that. And because of that, it doesn't matter whether AT&T has coverage, whether Verizon has coverage, or anything like that. So here, the facility is needed to provide new, enhanced, and improved wireless service. And this is reliable in-building service, which is really the objective of all carriers. In this part of the Tracy community, the new and improved in-building reliable coverage is going to help with communications for everyday life, for business, and for the critical use of residents and first responders, especially in an emergency. The facility footprint covers hundreds of either unserved or underserved homes with new and improved reliable in-building and also in-vehicle coverage and also capacity. So it's not just an issue of whether we have coverage in an area, you also have to have enough infrastructure there to handle the data processing demands. Otherwise, you may have a coverage footprint, but if you can't pass all the data through there, you still have a coverage gap. The facility will provide new, reliable, improved in-building wireless coverage and capacity to an additional 1,116 residents within the coverage footprint. We'll get to where we come up with that number on, I think, the next slide. And then the facility is going to provide the same new reliable coverages and capacity improvements for thousands of daily vehicle travelers on nearby segments in the area. So in a letter that I submitted to the county on July 11th, using some county traffic trip data from your website, we identified that at Durham Ferry and Casson Road, there were about 5,400 average daily trips that are going to be impacted by this facility. At Airport Way and Division Avenue, about 5,200 average daily trips. And at Casson Road and East Durham Ferry, about 3,600 average daily trips. So in addition to providing service for over 1,100 new residents in the area, there's also going to be many thousands of average daily traffic trips where they're going to receive improved coverage as well. So here we have some additional, some updated coverage maps from the T-Mobile team. Over on the left, you can see the existing situation. The green is the objective, the coverage and signal strength objective. Green shows reliable in-building coverage and also reliable in-vehicle coverage. If it's yellow, you've got very marginal coverage or no coverage with respect to in-building situations. So over on the right, you can see with the darker purple dot, that's the proposed facility location. We've got an expansive area of reliable in-building and in-vehicle coverage that will be provided by this facility. You also see a couple of other things. The new green footprint for the proposed facility actually touches with the footprint now of 3 other surrounding sites that are part of the network. This is important for T-Mobile as a carrier to do a handoff between sites. When you go from the green to the yellow, there's no handoff, you get a drop. But if you can go from green to green, there's continuous, uninterrupted, quality, reliable coverage. Additionally, You can see that T-Mobile has determined that there'll be 1,116 additional indoor, residents or population covered. This information comes from data that T-Mobile is able to get from the United States Census Bureau. The Census Bureau has very detailed maps and information that shows population counts in an area. And so they did an overlay of the new coverage footprint with those population counts and came up with that additional coverage number. Finally, getting back to the issue of capacity. So it's not just a matter of a coverage footprint, but we need to also provide new infrastructure here, a new facility that will be able to handle the ever-increasing data demands of users with wireless services. Wireless services are used today for streaming, for exchanging videos and photos and large data files. And if there isn't enough infrastructure in a wireless community network, then the network fails and people can't get the type of high-speed, reliable coverage that they're looking for. Here is kind of an overview of the alternative site analysis that was done. It shows 5 other alternative locations that were looked at, but they were rejected for various reasons. We've already talked about those. You can see it's a little bit light on the screen, but hopefully more visible on your individual screens. You can see kind of the red area there. That was kind of the search ring area, but we're obviously looking for a location that is easily accessible, that's for vehicles, for utilities and things like that, that also serves the coverage objective. And the best location that was identified was the proposed location here. So with all of that, we would ask, consistent with staff recommendations, that the commission approve and certify the CEQA categorical exemption for the project under CEQA Guidelines Section 15303, and also approve the project's administrative use permit. And we are available to address any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll start to hear from opposition. We will hear from the opposition. 5 minutes. We'll start a timer. Also, if it starts to be repetitive points, I'll point that out, and so we can move on to something else. So if anyone would like to come up and speak, it's a rough deal for us as well. I mean, we're pretty much handcuffed up here, as far as I could tell.
Thank you, Commission, for
Thank you.
listening to us. My name is Arlene Lilly Fail, and I want to read this, but I want to point out that the issue is not wireless. Where we're at, there's no broadband. There is no fiber optics. The statistics show that T-Mobile will only, 8% reliability if this tower comes up. Verizon exceeds them, and that is a fact. You can research it yourself. It's a fact. And as far as the Telecommunications Act, it is not 100 feet. It's 1,000 feet. As a matter of fact, it has to be a quarter of a mile away from a residential. I would ask each of you to please go to the River Club, go to 30,000 Casson Road. I hope you don't say yes today, but if you guys can just hold it and just tomorrow, just drive down there and go look at Shirley Rodriguez's house and see how close she's gonna be to this tower, and go talk to her. Go talk to her, and if she tells you that she doesn't have a problem with it, then it's on her with you guys. But I would really highly recommend you guys take a drive to the River Club and see how close at least 3-4 houses are not even, it's not even 1,000 feet. And with that, what I wanted to say, and I just was so taken back by everything, I apologize. But I'm here because this idea, this talk was about the cell phone, better use of the cell phone. Okay, that's what this all was about from the beginning, and it was all talk. Okay, we came to discover, and I attended all the meetings except 2. It was said that, and like I told you, it was talk, that the membership would be able to sit down and look at the contract collectively and be able to just go through it and see if people are in favor of it, or if they want something added, or they want something taken out. That never happened, okay? And as far as CCRs, we're not governed by CCRs. We're not an HOA. We are nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, okay? And our articles of incorporation established the date that we were incorporated as a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that Dan Devaney did not have executive power to do what he did. And what I don't understand is all of us have a legal document to 1% shareholders. All of us have this. This is a legal document. And on the back, if I want to sell my house, I have to fill this out and I have to sign it. There is proper protocol that has to be followed. No one member can exclude all the members. It goes against our bylaws. It goes against our articles of incorporation, which it says right here. It says right here. It says the corporation is a corporation which does not contemplate pecuniary gain or profit to the members thereof. It says it in black and white right there. So this contract was not even supposed to happen. It goes against our articles of incorporation, totally against it. We don't even have the insurance. If you look at our funds in our corporation, we don't have the insurance-wise to cover if there's a fire to this tower, which we'll be totally liable for. You know, I can't help but to think that this is a land grab where they can just go on our property, take our legal document and put theirs right there. And then after there's a yes, the next day we have a 72-hour notice on our property. You know, that's scary. There's 50% of the people who live there are seniors. They're disabled. Please consider that. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to correct, I'm so sorry, you're right, you are in a 407B, I believe, is that what you said? And I thought you were CCNR, so I'd like to correct that. But I'd also like to make the point that we all understand that the point has been made, and so if anybody else is going to come up and speak, it's been made. You have a problem with the way the decision was made to go with T-Mobile because of the violations of your charter and your homeowner rules. But we can't take that into consideration when we decide how we're going to vote. We understand that, but you, as individuals or a group, have to go against those who made the decision. And that's not going to be part of what I'm going to decide tonight.
Hello, I'm Donna Barbera Diaz, and I've been a resident of the San Joaquin River Club since 2012. And when I first got there, they said, oh, this is one happy family, and it's turned into the same thing that our whole country is in, undivided. I mean, it's divided. And unfortunately, I have to say, I've been listening to the vertical bridge, and I was told that the cell radius of a cell is 22 miles in rural areas. That's what I was told. Well, Orchard RV Park has one, and it's 5 miles away. There's another Verizon tower, and that's on Bird Road, and that's 7 miles away. And on West Linney Road, which is 9.3. So I don't know why we need another tower on this corner. I really don't. When I first got there in 2012, I had AT&T, and I had to run outside to answer the phone. So I went to Verizon, and I haven't had any problems, not at all. The other thing that I would like this planning commission to do is to put this on hold until we can go into civil litigation, because we all are 1% owners, and the board had no right to, and actually they signed the contract one day before they got the vote from all the board's members also. So they had no right. So I'd like for you to put this on hold until we can go through civil litigation and let them settle if we had the right to sign or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joe Prime. I live in Ripon, California. You obviously have mentioned the situation in Ripon before for the Murphy Road cell tower, and probably some things that I'm going to say tonight you've probably heard before, but I hope that I've earned the right to speak here this evening. I've been a dues-paying member of the San Joaquin River Club for 29 years. I bought my house in Ripon in 2007 and have lived there since. My children have attended Ripon schools. One graduated this year, and one will be a sophomore this year at Ripon High. My children attended Weston Elementary School, and in August of 2016, my son was diagnosed with pediatric cancer. He developed a Wilms tumor on his kidney. During the next 2.5 years, 3 additional students at that school developed solid malignant tumors. Ripon has 6 elementary schools in their town. This is the only elementary school during those 2.5 years where there were pediatric cancer patients. And this school was the only school in town, only elementary school in town that had a cell phone tower on its campus. And it was also a 100-foot monopole. I understand that there may be some limitations on how you can make your decision tonight. My son is doing very well. He went through chemotherapy, radiation, several years of other treatments and scans. He's doing well. As we all sit here and talk tonight, and I really want to express my appreciation for you allowing me to go through this process. Also want to thank city staff for all the hard work they do. I'm sorry, county staff. I've been in public service for 26 years, and so I really appreciate all that goes into this. One of my son's classmates that was diagnosed 6 months after him in January of 2017, they are asking for heavy prayers tonight. He is at UCSF, and they are praying for comfort and peace. They believe that they will be letting this young man go. If anybody follows the Team Mason page on Facebook, you can see what all we went through. We were successful in getting that tower removed. I believe it was in 2019. They finally removed that tower and moved it off of the elementary school campus. I understand that there's FCC guidelines. I understand that there's radio frequency measurements, and they may all be in compliance with those measurements. But I also feel that there may be things that these poles emit that we don't know about, that we cannot detect. Again, 4 students, 2.5 years in the same elementary school. And this was the only thing that was really different between these schools, was this monopole. As you can see, I'm using my cell phone. We all need cell coverage. And I also feel that, you know, T-Mobile should have a chance to expand their coverage, and I understand that. But I don't feel that this pole belongs around the most densely populated section of this area, that part of the valley. There's 400 homes there, and they want to put this pole in that parcel. So I don't know that the alternative sites, maybe there can be more exploration, maybe there can be more outreach to the nearby property owners that might be able to finally come to an agreement with this company to have it on their property and a little bit farther away from these residential homes. Let me see here, a few more notes. I think this is a big enough issue where the board should have been a little bit more aggressive in their outreach to the members. I did not know about it until the first letter from the county. And so I would just urge the commission tonight. I understand that they can't make a decision based on the Federal Telecommunications Act, that your hands are somewhat tied. But if you have any ability whatsoever to postpone this at all, I please urge you to do whatever you can to postpone this decision and let the club work with its council to do the best they can. I would also like to urge the developer and project applicant to do the best they can to find another location for this. Get it a little bit farther away from these homes. Like I said, I'm reasonable. We all need cell coverage. I believe that they should have the opportunity to expand their services along with the other companies. But I just would like to really see them try as hard as they can. I think there's landowners around that would probably sign a lease with them. So again, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity. My name is Jerry Fail. I think I've lived out the River Club for probably 17, 18 years now, and I've been a member of the bylaw community, or the committee, for about 4 or 5 years now, something like that. Anyways, I want to point a couple of things out to you. Some of the inaccurate information on here. You got on here that it says there's no residential. There's 400 homes out there, probably 800 people out there, so I don't know how that clerical error got on there. But apparently, you guys don't want to hear about our bylaws and all that other stuff, and okay, I get that, okay? However, when we get into a few other things, the first thing is the contract that was signed, which shouldn't have been signed anyways by one person, can't do that. If you look at the contract data when it was signed, when it was notarized, it's a different date. That is totally out of protocol there, okay, for one. Okay, there's an issue when you go to get something notarized, it's got to be witnessed and signed right there in front of the notary. In this case, it's not happening. But what bothers me the most is the way this thing was done. Apparently, none of this stuff on here that the president is supposed to do has happened that's bound here. But some of the interesting things that I found in the corporation code from California, okay, so we all have to adhere to when we're in organizations such as ourselves. Okay, so 7150, Article C and D, have restrictions on board powers, okay? Section 7912 states that all members have a right to vote on any sale of any assets or any access to any of our access. It requires a town hall vote by ballot, and it requires 2/3 of the members to vote on it, okay? The thing that sticks out to me the most is one of the other things. I think it's in 8903. It's in my other notes. If we were to merge with Vertical Bridges, it would inadvertently change our tax status to from a nonprofit mutual benefit to something else, because we would be, in fact, providing a free service to the public. The River Club does not do that. We don't provide free services. That alone, I feel, is an argumentative point that will change our tax status, which would actually hurt us. The other thing that stands out to me the most, and this is where I don't understand, is it was not looked into to the beginning. Section 7412, liability limits. It specifically says if we don't have the money in the bank to cover any type of liability, it automatically disqualifies us. So how is it that this is slipping through the cracks like this? I'm just kind of wondering if you guys actually look into any of these things and compare it, or is it that you guys just get an application and just send it through? Because the lawyers know this, and Mr. Devaney knows this. And did anybody ask him to prove that he was the sole owner of Casson Road? I would really like to do that. I'd really like to see that document that specifically says that he is the landlord and owner of that, because it's simply not true. This whole thing was filed under false pretenses and very misleading facts. And I would, you know, for all of us, a lot of us are here. We're representing a lot of people. Yeah, they're handicapped, veterans, kids. You know, a lot of people. To really reconsider this. And I believe the loophole here is the liability limits here that would not get you in trouble with the FCC for whatever reason. There has to be another alternative for another location out there. You know, of course we would like better coverage, but is it right for us? Do we qualify for it? No, we don't. Was it done the wrong way? And I would dare say in an illegal fashion? Yes, I'm gonna just give my opinion on that. But I really.
So your point is that the applicant isn't actually the applicant because they don't have a right to be the applicant?
That is 100% correct.
Okay, which would make the application
null and void.
I'm an owner.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we're all owners, but. No, that's okay. I really appreciate your time. My time is up, and I want to follow protocol, and that's coming from the heart. It's coming from actual facts, from the corporation codes, you know, in California, and it's the way it is. But thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monica Smith. I'm not only a resident out there, I am a shareholder and an owner. We all equally own 1% of this corporation. Not one individual has any legal rights or authority over the other. We elect our board of directors to make day-to-day decisions, not decisions like this, and not decisions to give away or have someone else come onto our property. And we also have the legal right and authority to remove those board of directors, and we all have the legal right and authority to call town hall meetings and discuss things and vote on things. Everything that is done in our community is voted on. We just had an election, and we voted on bylaws by which none of them passed. So they could not invoke them, they could not enact them, they could not act upon them. And we have come to be in the understanding that, and have told that the decision was already made, that this is just a formality. That is what we have been told by staff members in the county on several occasions, that we're coming here, you guys will pass this. We've been given information already on how to appeal it. That's a violation of the Brown Act. We were not given the opportunity to be a part of all of your guys' discussions. I understand that there was discussions with Dan Devaney.
We're having a public discussion now.
You are now, but there was discussions prior to this. We've been told.
Not with any planning commission.
Not by any of
Not
us.
any of you guys.
Yeah, and we're the ones that will make the decision. Now,
Well,
staff, I'm sure, talks to the applicant as they do to you, but
Right,
at
and
least I
that's
could
where
speak.
we were hearing that information was, from your staff, one of which is sitting right there.
Well, I understand, but
And
this
so-
is the process, I guess is my point. This is the process where you are getting the time to discuss this.
Well, then why were we being told that this was already going to be approved? I mean, and we appreciate this opportunity. We do, and we hope that you listen to us. This is what we've been waiting for, was our chance to speak to you. I have here, so the FCC, you know, you guys are going through the FCC, there's an exemption, but does that exemption acknowledge the fact that there is over 400 homes, well over 800 residents that we are legally acknowledged that we live there? This map is the county's map. This is our voting rights. We are all registered to our home sites. These are homes. These are single family residents with children. right butted up against this tower. If they had other places that they could have put this tower, why was it right here in the most populated area? Do you want this in your front yard? Do you want this monopole in your front yard with your children, your family members? If this pole falls, there isn't even enough room for it to fall without it falling on top of something else. A home, a bus coming by, because where they're showing you on their map, I implore you, go out there and look for yourself. The drawing that they're providing, it's not 100% accurate by any means. It's a very big, gross misrepresentation. I do not want this pole in my front yard. I don't want the hazards of it. I don't want the liability of it. And I was not given the right until today to even speak about it. Our votes were denied. We have board meeting after board meeting and town hall meetings where Dan Deviney and Gary Boswell are clearly stating the bell's already been rung, the contracts are signed, it's too late. That's how we found out, was your guys' letter, which we were very grateful to have. But that should have not been the first step. This is gross misabuse of power by an individual that had no legal right or authority to make this decision on our behalf. I implore you, if you guys cannot deny this application, which I understand, we've heard you, we are very well versed in what is going on. Please postpone it so that we have an opportunity to go through the legal course of action that we can to make sure our rights as residents are heard and protected. Thank you.
Thank you. County Council and staff, what is the process to make sure that the owner of the, if I can't apply for a property I don't own, correct? Do we check the property ownership and that type of thing?
Yes, so what we did on this, and staff can correct me, but I believe we went online and pulled up the legal authorities that can sign for that corporation. And the applicant's name was on there. He signed the authorization letter to the cell tower company, who then signed the application. The person was on that legal authority to sign list.
If I can just add to that through the chair. So that review is standard review for our jurisdiction and most jurisdictions, and we do utilize the Secretary of State's website, and then we'll do some follow-up due diligence on that. The key here was that because the entity is the applicant, and that is where we focus the due diligence, through the process at any time, the applicant, which is the River Club itself, can withdraw that application at any time. And in fact, during the process, I think staff can give some details on this, the River Club, as an entity, paused the processing of the project. The entity does have the ability to do that, and we've articulated that to stakeholders who have contacted staff, and that question's arisen. The entity applied, the entity paused, the entity reinstated, as again, staff can give details on that. The entity could withdraw that application, at which point the county would not have moved that application forward for processing. When that application is active, there are shot clocks that the county is subject to, and the applicant certainly has the expertise to address those. And there are other aspects that may impact the club, but for our purposes, that was why once it was deemed to be legally appropriate, and at no point it was withdrawn.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Diana Pace, and unlike these other young folks, I'm an elderly person there. I've been retired for 12 years. I had a whole thing planned to say, but right now I want to say I'm really surprised, because what I saw when they showed those site maps is something that Monica just brought up. They showed 5 different locations, and yet they chose the one that was like right at the pivotal point where we live. There was one that was way on the other end that was closer to where they had a lot of empty space where they needed to fill it in. Why didn't they go that way? And when they showed the view of them coming down the road.
Infeasible.
Pardon me? Oh, okay. So, and when they showed the pictures of it coming down the road, and they showed Durham Ferry Road, and they showed other places, and they showed that it was empty farmland all around. That's because all of that space is empty farmland, yet they chose to come to the one corner that has 400 and some houses in it, and to go there where there are people. The lady that's directly across the street, her house is as far as I am from you. She was in the hospital for 3 months because she had a brain aneurysm, and she's got a weakened immune system. And she's directly across the street from where that cell tower is going. You know, there's little children, there's big children. One of the little children is sitting right over here. There's grandmas, there's grandpas, there's teenagers, kids riding their bikes in that area. We are human beings. I'm a Native American. I'm ashamed to see that these people are sitting back here, and all of this is so that one cell company, not a group of cell companies, but one cell company, T-Mobile. If everybody I know that has T-Mobile, I'm going to tell them to get rid of it, because this is ridiculous that they don't care about our well-being. Are they sad because Verizon has better coverage? I'm sorry. That's not our problem. Our problem is we want to stay alive. I'm a retired person on a fixed income. I've been living in this area, in that house, since 2006 in this River Club. And it used to be that we were an association, we were a group. The reason why I really wanted to come to live there is because it had a sense of community. People gathered together, we shared meals, we had parties, we enjoyed ourselves. Now it seems like people are in competition to see who can do the most, get the most parcels, who can get the most power. What I am also going to point out is what Jerry Fail said, and also Arlene Fail, that the truth is, this man had the job of being the president of the River Club. He's already 2 presidents removed now. And yet, we all stand to stay there and have the outcome, the crap, fall on us, you know? All of the negative stuff is coming on us. He signed it not as the president of the River Club, he signed it and put that he was the CEO and the owner. We are all equal owners. Our thing says we have 1% each. 1% each. And I think it's terrible. I don't know how he can sleep at night. But my point is, I agree with what has been said, which is, can you only pause it? Can you just put it on hold long enough to look into what are the legalities? We've been told 2 or 3 times. We got the letter saying that on the 6th of June there was going to be a meeting, and that's when most people heard about it for the first time. And today, there are still people there that think that this is only about having better cell coverage. That's not what this is all about. It's about much, much more. That contract, which they delivered to us, or to him, and he signed it, I don't know why, but that contract says that if anything happens, if there's a natural disaster or anything, that we, the River Club, are responsible for it, and we're responsible for taking care of it and fixing it. How can that be? And they're talking about they're going to have an easement road coming in so that they don't have to come through. Do you have any idea that corner, I don't know where his figures came from, about 5,000 something for one place. That corner, if you go there, in the last 2 years, people trying to avoid the traffic on the freeway and to get to Modesto come down Casson Road and turn onto Airport Durham Ferry Road. There are thousands of cars that pass through there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jackie Forbes Prime. I'm also an equal shareholder. What's your point?
So we can hear you.
I'm with everybody else. I have a million things going on in my mind, and I'm nervous, so I'm probably going to say the wrong things. So bear with me for a couple of minutes. They specified that this would help communications with first responders. Well, I did some looking around, I did some checking, and we do. We have a fire station 1.9 miles from us. It houses one hitch Spartan pumper truck, one 2000 Spartan LTI reserve fire truck, and one 2022 BME Type 3 wildland engine, and 3 personnel. That's it. If anything happens and they have to come out from Tracy, it's almost 9 miles. And there's nothing but trees and dry grass and eucalyptus around us. And it's gonna be a mess. Not to mention, a lot of times they come to us to get water. The fire department will come to us to get water. We're in such a mess with our water now, and it's been going on at least 3 weeks. We can't water our lawns. We can't do anything that's gonna take a bunch of water because we don't have it. You know, and that's very scary, you know. My husband's family, they've been out there since the 1950s. My family's been out there since the 1960s. And I've been out there 23 years. And we've always followed our bylaws. We've always done what we were supposed to do. Until Davini and Gary Boswell got a wild hair and decided that that made no difference anymore. If you could just please, like they said, come and take a look at our club. You know, my address is 30,000 Cason Road. So we are all 30,000 Cason Road. They're not, when they're saying it on there, it sounds like that's just a little corner, that's 30,000. It's not, it's huge. We're a big spot with a lot of houses and a lot of people. You know, all we ask is that you please just put this on hold so we can do what we can do. We do not want to lose our land. We do not want to lose our homes. You know, my husband's grandpa built our house, and I want that house to be there so that my nephew, Kyle Prime, who had cancer, thankfully he survived, he's a survivor, and he's grown, and he's gorgeous. I want him to be able to come and see our house, and maybe one day live in our house, who knows? But please, please, please just take a breath. Let us see what we can do. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Alexis Sterling, and I also am a resident at the San Joaquin River Club. Jerry came up a little while ago and he talked about corporate law and the different things that the board that created this contract decided to overlook. It's also in our books. It's within our bylaws. It's within our resolutions. We have one that specifically refers to it. It says that, well, by the way, we don't have an executive board. We never have from the beginning, 1939 forward. We do have a board of directors, which is the officers are president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. The rest are directors. So out of our book, we have this one that says that the officers and directors of this club, i.e. the San Joaquin River Club, Inc., be, and they are singularly and collectively forever enjoined, restrained, and prohibited from borrowing any funds or making any loans or creating or establishing any indebtedness or obligations for or on the behalf of this club in excess of the funds on hand and available unpledged or earmarked for other purposes at the time of such action, and further that they be and hereby are forever enjoined, restrained, prohibited from pledging and/or assigning any of the assets of the club, except that any such loans, indebtedness, obligation, pledges, assignments may be, when first approved and authorized by 3/4 of the members of said club entitled to vote, represented in person or by proxy. The membership is who should have created this contract and decided on it. If you look into that contract and you really read that thing, they have taken our rights away. Vertical Bridge is going to have first rights on our property. It doesn't say this little corner over here. It says 30,000 Casson Road. First rights, Vertical Bridge. Not first rights, San Joaquin River Club, first rights, Vertical Bridge. There are so many loopholes in this contract that at any time, as well as they took a loan against our land with Barclay Bank. So at any time, Barclay has the right to foreclose. Who gets the land? Not us. You know, Vertical Bridge gets upset. Who gets the land? Not us. This board did not represent us. We put them there to be the representatives of us in good faith. They're to do the day-to-day. They're to make sure the bills are paid. They're to make sure people are following the rules. They're not there to do this. I just showed you that in our books. That's not state law, that's our law. And we took it from state law and we put it there for a reason, so that we can control these things. I am really at a point, how can you go forward? You did start the meeting off saying we're in a bad spot. The FCC, it's better to fight with the River Club than the FCC, right? No, it's not right. You have all of these people living there for multiple years, and all of a sudden, 9 people took it upon themselves to do things behind closed doors and block out the rest of us. They have violated the Brown Act in many different ways. They believe the Brown Act doesn't apply to us. We met with Mr. Duarte, Congressman Duarte, on Tuesday, and he said it sure does. It's a California act. It belongs and it affects everybody. And these guys believe they can overstep that, as well as all of our rules. So I beg you, please, hold on to this. Don't pass it tonight. Give us an opportunity to at least go forward and try to save our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can follow that. She did great. My name is Robin Bell White. I have been a resident at the River Club since 2012. Oh, you can make it higher. I'm tall. I just want to add to what Alexa said. I have been on the board of directors since July of last year. This whole fight kind of fell in my lap when we got the notice from the county about the permit application. I have been trying to fight this from day one for various reasons. As you've heard about the contracts, Dan Deviney and Gary Boswell did not have the legal authority to enter into these contracts. Interesting thing is Gary Boswell did a year off of the board. You do 3 years on, 1 year off. The whole time he was off that 1 year, he was still manipulating and controlling things on the board of directors. And we just had an election Sunday, and miraculously, he was reinstalled on our board of directors. So you've got the top two. Gary Boswell brought the contracts to the River Club board. Dan Deviney signed as owner. They They signed these contracts April 25th of 2023, less than 3 months before our annual election, when we should have been able to vote on this. Because of all the uproar, Dan Devine has tried to have his name removed from the contracts. Obviously, he knows he did wrong. They tried to get, so there's been some musical chairs on the board before our last election. Jeremy Levin was our president. He stepped down. He's the one that was able to put this whole thing on hold. Like I said, I've been trying to fight this for a year now, for various reasons. Jeremy stepped down. They installed Dale Smith as the president and tried to get Dale to re-sign all these contracts. They had talked about trying to renegotiate these things. And here we are. They still, you know, like I said, Gary got back on the board so he could make sure he and Dan push this through. We are grateful to be here to speak to everyone. Couple things. The other thing, I agree with people, their own, Vertical Bridge's own overhead photo showed acres and acres of open land that they could have put this tower, but they put it in the one small little area that's residential. This is a problem for a variety of reasons. My background is medical, so I originally came at this from a medical standpoint. I do a lot of medical research on things. The electromagnetic frequencies emitted from these towers are well known to cause harm. Environmental Health Trust, AAL, consolidated with Children's Health Defense versus the Federal Communications Commission and the United States. This is a decision by the United States Court of Appeal where the FCC, the court found that the FCC had not updated their safety guidelines since 1996. That's almost 30 years, way before we had 2G, 3G, 4G, and they have never updated their guidelines. That is an issue. It also states in here a lot of the studies and adverse health effects. This, I can pass these on to you guys. You can take a look at them. This is the bioinitiative report. This is scientists, doctors. It's mentioned in this court, in the court decision. This is just the summary for the public of all the adverse health effects. So this starts, it's not just cancer, it's anxiety, irritability, metabolic disorder, diabetes, mental instability. We, as human beings, have a bioelectrical field. These towers emit a variety of frequencies. If anybody has a science background, I'm sure you know all about the electromagnetic spectrum. We exist in a teeny tiny fraction of that visible light. Our 5 senses are only tuned to that teeny tiny little aspect of it. So if you want to take a look at this, I will pass it on. I don't know. But that's my issue, like I said, the contracts, but also the adverse health effects of these towers. And to put it, you've got acres of land to put it, and to put it right where we live. I don't want that in my yard. I don't want that anywhere near people. It's harmful to animals, wildlife. We live in an ag area. It affects insects, including bees. You know, the list goes on and on. I also asked, please, if you guys can put this on hold, let us do our civil litigation. We are represented.
You do have civil litigation going on, is that correct?
There are no lawsuits. We were kind of waiting for this. It's a process. Like I said, we've been working on this for a year. We have contacted, I have gone, being on the board the first year when we got the letter, I immediately wrote a letter. A member, shareholder stood up and asked for a town hall. So I submitted a letter to the board requesting that it be canceled or that we have a town hall. I I helped get this put on hold to begin with.
Okay, I get it. So there's not a specific one right now. I'm going to let someone else speak now so
Okay.
they can get their
All
5
right, thank
minutes.
you.
Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, can I clarify with the
Yeah, that's what
speaker?
we're going to, yes, please.
If I may? Is this being provided to the commission for our record, or do you want them just to look at it and give it back to you? It's not clear.
You can have that. I'm sorry I didn't print out enough copies for everyone, but that's yours to review.
I appreciate your clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have I think the main opposition is site selection, the validity of the contract. That seems to be the reoccurring. Does anyone have anything to speak on besides those? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Luis. I'm a member also of San Joaquin Valley County Club. Well, I just want to speak real quick about the tech. I work in tech, so I actually have T-Mobile, and I have no issues with coverage in that area. I drive every day, exiting Quezon Road up to Airport Way. So I drive around the corner all the way to Manteca, so that leads you all the way up to Manteca. I have no issue. I have a Tesla, and I stream all my music fine. So there's no hurry in terms of, if you guys approve this, I don't know why you guys would hurry up and approve this, because there is coverage right now. I don't know what kind of gap they're talking about, if there's certain amount of signal strength gap, but there is signal there. There's no emptiness. I can talk on my phone all the way to Manteca and back, and it's the same road that they showed on the map, the missing coverage. I have coverage all the way, and I have T-Mobile. 2, I also have Starlink. I get, you were talking about Starlink earlier, and I actually have internet at home Starlink because I work from home. So in tech, I have coverage there. So there's full coverage. I have never seen, my whole family actually has T-Mobile because they're under me. So we have had no issues at all. We do FaceTime, we do calling, texting. So in terms of coverage, there's no hurry in terms of that, to hurry up and approve this. And also the second thing is environmental impact, right? They say that they can bypass the environmental impact because of the FCC in terms of gaps. And then they showed the second point, why they couldn't choose the other sites because of environmental impact. So why couldn't they do the same thing there and bypass their environmental impact in the other sites and not us? So that's another point, doesn't make any sense at all. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Monica Trevino. I live in 30,000 Castle Road. I own my house with my partner, and thank you for your time, to all of you guys, to listen to our problems. I always been there, living and follow the rules. I follow the rules, whatever the president say, whatever the vice president, I follow the rules. I try to be outstanding person who lives there. When this bridge tower came and I started reading the contract, what scared me the most was they already asked to some bank for loan money against my property. And that's what scared me. I'm 63 years old. If you don't pay your dues, what the bank does, come and take your property. Where I'm gonna be if they take my property? I'm gonna be a homeless lady, something that I'm scared of. Please, you people here, please put on hold all these into all the people that you heard, everybody. I don't have to say nothing else about that. We can find legal advice how to handle this, so I don't have to be homeless in the future, because Vertical Bridge, they're not doing what they're supposed to do with the good intentions. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Dan Deviney. I'm the director and current vice president of the San Joaquin River Club. And I'm here to
Sir, just to clarify, are you for the project or against it?
I'm for the project.
You're for the project. Yeah, so that would be during rebuttal, where the
Okay,
representative.
you want me to wait?
Correct.
Okay.
But I would recommend I would just recommend from a process standpoint that we not just limit to just him with rebuttal, because we did have an applicant. So to the extent that if you can, Chair, find that time in the rebuttal, but as well also allow the
For the
applicant
applicant.
directly.
Yeah, correct. I have questions for
Perfect.
applicant as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else in person against the project opposition? And if not, we'll ask if anyone online.
Can I add to what I had said earlier?
No, you cannot. Okay. Seeing none, anyone online?
I don't think so.
Okay. This time we'll allow a rebuttal from the applicant or representative, and then I'll let you speak, Mr. Davini.
Thank you, Chair. I'll address a couple of issues, and then Bill Lewis will address some alternative site analysis issues. So first, a lot of discussion with respect to RF. So again, in 2019, the FCC, after decades of study, issued a new order, which reaffirmed the radio frequency health safety standards. And they did that in December of 2019. And they did that not just based on their own research, but in conjunction with a number of other federal agencies, such as the Food and Drug Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. They also used a lot of scientific data and studies from many other non-governmental organizations. So that was all reviewed and coming up with the standards. And they had decades of data that they used to reaffirm these standards. So, in 2019, they reestablished these health safety standards. A specific RF health safety study was done for this particular facility. They used kind of maximum energy case scenarios, which actually won't apply in real life. So they analyze the RF energy based on maximum use of all of the antennas and equipment on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis, which is never going to happen. The power of the antennas and the equipment is really based on what kind of access is being made of the site, right? So at 2 o'clock in the morning, things aren't going to be operating at 100%. But nonetheless, using that kind of worst case scenario, this RF health safety study done by a very experienced and recognized expert determined that the RF energy from this facility would be 2% of the total RF health safety standards set by the FCC. Another issue has to do with some comments made about a 2021 DC Court of Appeal decision. That decision did not overturn or rescind the FCC's December 2019 order, and it specifically stated that it was not doing anything to change or alter or rescind the FCC's reaffirmed health safety standard that was in that order. So in addition, I think one of the last speakers talked about, he can get T-Mobile coverage in his car. That, that's one person, but again, the objective here, which is recognized, by case authority across the nation, is reliable in-building strong coverage. And the coverage maps and the data that have been provided to the county firmly establish that there is a significant gap in the area with respect to in-building coverage, and that this facility will fill that gap. And then Bill can address the alternative site analysis that was done, and then we can address any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you're the man of the hour. There has to be some other low-hanging fruit out there instead of this site, but...
Thank you, Commissioner, for the question. So the San Joaquin River Club was actually the second candidate. We did have an alternative candidate that we were engaged with. It was in a commercial area to the northeast of the River Club. That did not happen. Landlord decided they did not want to move forward. The other locations that we looked at either declined, or well, all of them, all of the locations either declined or did not respond.
And what's the process? A letter, a phone call? Or do you cold call these guys? Do you knock on doors? What are you doing for these?
Yeah, so all of those, we do engage in it. For this site, for this project, letters of interest were mailed out to the addresses that are recorded on file for the mailing address.
Kind of a blanket geofence type situation?
Correct, and we use the addresses that are, the mailing addresses on the county county public records. There were questions about going in on the other side of Casson, where there's a significant amount of agriculture. One of the issues there is that there's an airport landing field right there, so there would be issues. We wanted to stay away from there so that we wouldn't have any issues with FAA. And in regards to our location, we did do an FAA study, clearance study, to make sure that there was no interference with the flight path.
Okay. So now with the county, they show that they do adequate research on properties, correct? That's one of the requirements that they have to show?
Correct. We do ensure, and that's part of staff due diligence, we do ensure that the applicant provides not only alternative sites, but provides that information to the county, including which sites were looked at and really why, like Mr. Lewis said, that they refused or that there's a reason why physically it's not an actual feasible alternative. So we do require that's provided, that's reviewed by staff. Now, do we go and follow up and knock on that door a second time? We do not do that level of diligence, but we do require it submitted, we review it, and again, we sort of accept on its face that in fact, that's factually true.
And from them saying, hey, we tried these spots, we mailed these people, covering your butts type situation.
Correct, and we do geographically make sure that it overlays the area, right? So if they've only looked at 2 properties or 5 properties that, or only 5% of the area, we do make sure that those alternative sites kind of are as broad as the area that needs the coverage.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I got a question.
Yeah, please.
So, obviously you've heard that there's some legalities here that need to be worked out. So your council, what kind of due diligence do they do to actually make sure that Mr. Devaney actually had the right to sign these rights away?
Yeah, so Bill Lewis and I are involved in the land use zoning environmental aspect of this. I haven't seen the contract, haven't been involved in any contract discussions or analysis or anything like that. I don't think Bill has either. I have talked with counsel for the club who has reviewed this issue in detail and has determined himself that there was valid authority to move forward with the lease. In addition, Vertical Bridge has outside national counsel, the K&L Gates firm, they're an international law firm. They have taken a look at all of these issues, the arguments from the opponents, and have determined that they're without merit. So other than that, we don't have any more information on it.
Okay, so as far as site selection with the county, is there a way, I'm just trying to see how fast these things move. Like, for instance, when did you send the letters out and you got someone to bite on it and that type of deal? How long was that process?
It was approximately, I can't off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, it's not, we're not in court. It doesn't got to be super.
It was at the beginning of 2023.
I mean, for your guys' sake, it just seems like there would just be better, I mean, ag properties out there. I know a lot of ag guys, ag prices are no good. That would be all over something like this. Does that cross into the mind about the opposition and how many people will be against it?
Definitely. No, when we look at alternative sites, we want to make sure that meets the objective and the criteria of least intrusive means to cover that service gap. We do go on agricultural land all the time, and so that is something that we like to do. But in this case, in the agricultural lands that are nearest to us, there wasn't a suitable location in terms of non-use by the production of it, but also it's significantly closer to the airport landing strip, which was a big concern. If we get too close, that means that we have to limit the height of the tower, which then causes an issue in terms of achieving the same coverage objective, or we have to do lighting where we have ongoing flashing lights on the tower itself, which isn't necessarily the most intrusive or the least intrusive means to cover that objective.
Okay, it seems like in the country it wouldn't be a huge issue, but
On these alternate sites, you have 5, is that right?
On that on the ASA, the alternative site analysis, I believe there's 5 that are shown, correct?
And 2 and 5 didn't work?
Excuse me?
Number 2 and number 5 weren't available?
Let me just take a look and see which properties those are.
It's page 3.
Can you read off the names?
One is alternate 5, Sacramento, San Joaquin. I can't read that. Durham. And then the other one is in Elizabeth, Zaraha.
Yeah, the Elizabeth, I believe, is to the north.
Yes.
Alternative 2, yeah. She was unresponsive. The alternative site number 5 that's shown on there, and it doesn't show the details of it, but if you pull up the Fish and Wildlife maps, the flood maps and the Fish and Wildlife maps, there's a lot of wetlands to the northeast of the River Club, as well as lack of power up there. There was no power source that was nearby. In order to bring power up to that location, we'd be crossing significant wetlands. So from an environmental perspective, it wasn't the least intrusive. There was alternative 1, which is Jimmy Nag. That was our primary candidate before the San Joaquin River Club, but that fell out, and that property owner was not interested in proceeding with the lease agreement.
Are there any other property owners in that area where NAG was who you have reached out to?
Yeah, I believe Elizabeth owns a significant portion of that search area that's to the top. On the left-hand side, you can actually see the runway of the airport. It's the furthest left, kind of brownish color. Oh. All right, right there, that's the airport landing strip.
You can't go that way.
So all of this area we would have potential issues with the airport or with planes in their glide zone.
Can I?
Sorry, I did also want to note that we did have an extensive meeting with staff and I believe with county regarding the alternative site analysis. They did ask us a lot of these.
But
these
that was before you got any opposition to this, is that correct? Were you aware of the opposition to this?
That was one of the reasons why we had that meeting, was because of the opposition, correct. So this was after we were aware of the opposition.
Did you reach out to the most vocal members, which appears to be a lot of the people here, and meet with them? They talk about town hall. Wouldn't it have been appropriate, let me finish, wouldn't it have been appropriate to meet with all the members of the River Club to get their opinion? And then you might wanted to, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, go ahead.
Yes, we did. We did attend those board meetings, multiple board meetings. We were available on phone call if we couldn't attend as well. There was multiple meetings that we attended or made ourselves available. I don't believe at that time the application requirements required an EME study to be submitted, and we did provide that report to to the board itself so that we can address any potential health concerns.
I think the problem is, from what I'm hearing, the board, it seems to be a clique of certain members, and when I said town hall, from the impression I heard, the town hall includes everyone who lives in River Club, which to me, you probably could have gotten a better understanding of how much opposition you have to this.
Yeah, so Commissioner, I will note that while there may be some rules with respect to the club and town halls and things like that, what we're looking at is what are our obligations under the county zoning code and related regulations, and we met our obligations under that with respect to, whatever communication was required with the community.
And back to the actual process, do you have anything, Don? I'm sorry, Commissioner Ristolaar? Yeah. Okay. For the site selection, that goes to staff, does that go to county council? What do they have to satisfy under our current rules?
Oops. I will let staff address that. It goes first to staff. If there's a question about that, if there is opposition, if there is a legal question about the process, and in this one, there was C, all of the above. And in that case, then yes, I do review it. And I did meet with the applicant, and I have, this is not a secret, I have talked to an attorney that represents both the board. I have talked to, I believe, an attorney that at some point represented members. So staff has done due diligence in terms of those aspects. I then review it in terms of the FCC requirements and say, hey, do we have enough of this? I did ask and participate with the applicant, and that's because we really want to make sure that we have looked at alternative sites. Did you do a good enough job, applicant, right? Because we understand the opposition. In terms of the due diligence, I did re-review that. Now, of course, in regards to our due diligence, our process, the county in this role, does not enforce the corporations code. We do not do civil remedies. We do not make a determination when there is a claim of an abuse of power or fraud or bylaw violation. But within our lane, staff first reviews it. If there's any question, it comes to me. I did review it. It went back and forth. And so that's the way that this particular project has gone.
Okay, and federally, do they say, hey, you gotta look at 5 properties and submit that you contacted people, or do we have anything in place, or is it just kind of like there is alternatives sites that they looked at?
There is not a specific number, but it is required to be sufficient and adequate and complete, and that's why we do look at that, the red circle, to say this is what you, applicant, are showing us is the gap, and we do look at the maps that staff identified where there is what is, inside, outside. We do require those from the applicant. This applicant was very cooperative in not only giving us initial studies, but I believe then gave us more specific studies that actually used 2 methodologies. Part of the due diligence that staff looks at and that I double check and make sure that we look at is that information is coming in from qualified individuals. Vertical Bridge, when they provided those things, it was clear that data was coming from qualified individuals, very similar to the process that we'll use for an environmental review, for example. If someone is doing an environmental study, we will make sure that noise person is acoustic doctor. It's a very bad example, but you get the idea. And so that's kind of how we do those reviews. So there's not a specific magic number in the Federal Telecommunications Act. There are expectations that it be adequate, feasible. We will ask about alternatives because the applicant is absolutely obligated to, show to us that there's not an alternative that is feasible technologically. And so we did ask that, we did push that, and I believe, and I could be wrong on this one, that they did come back with actually a couple more from the initial study. The other thing I would note is that feasibility is different than when we talked about when the burden shifts back to the county. That's a little bit different, but.
Gotcha.
So we did push this applicant, and they did ultimately provide us more than they initially provided, and they met our expectations, and they were qualified individuals.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions,
We have to hear from Mr. Devane.
Commission? I don't think we have any. Mr. Devaney, would you like your 5 minutes to speak?
Knowing what we're doing tonight, I put together a few bullet points just to give you a different perspective. My name is Dan Devaney. I'm Director and current Vice President of the San Joaquin River Club, and I'm here to represent in my capacity as a director. I was the president of the club at the time the board of directors approved the cell tower lease, and I assigned the contract in accordance with the bylaws. Our bylaws require the president to sign all contracts. Also with me today is Gary Boswell, the director and current president of the club. We just had our annual elections, and Gary was re-elected to the board of directors and voted in as president. The people who were opposing the cell tower ran against Gary and other members of the thing, and they were soundly and roundly defeated. Not one of them was elected to the board of directors. The board believed that the cell tower would be a benefit to the club and its members, both due to the badly needed cell phone reception, as well as the financial benefits to the club. We've heard from many of our members and believe that the vast majority of members support the cell tower. You know, the proverbial silent majority, you know how that works, and whether they show up or not. The board has worked extensively with legal counsel for the club. Both the club's attorney and Vertical Bridge's national counsel have carefully considered and rejected the legal concern raised by a few of the club's members. So I was going to stop there and say thank you for your consideration, but I can't possibly address all the accusations and insinuations that were forwarded tonight.
Right.
But I can tell you there was a 2.5-year process. It started when Gary was president, went away, and then came back when the site towers weren't appropriate for the application. I took a year off and came back on the board. It came back to us. We passed contracts around to all the directors. We gave a contract to our attorney. It was not just an overnight process. It was a very deliberate process that we did this, and it was all done in open board sessions throughout that whole time. We have a monthly board of directors meeting, and it was in the open session that this took place. 2.5-year project. They're all legal arguments, and like I said, that it's been vetted by our attorney and the Vertical Bridge and Insurance, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
I have, it's him again. I do have another question. One of the residents mentioned that if something should happen, there's a possibility they could lose their property. Does that, can you explain that?
We can't understand that. They're using that. You're not only saying that you can lose your house, they're saying you lose your Social Security. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's out there and being circulated. If the club should go bankrupt for some reason, yes, we might have to dissolve it, I guess. But Vertical Bridge has the right of first refusal on their slot site.
Just the one piece of property?
For one, yeah, it's about 2,000 square feet. We have 423 houses out there, actually. And the lot sizes are roughly 50 feet by 100 feet deep and stuff like that. So they're small cottages. I'm a member out there. I love the place. My son's a wildlife biologist. We wouldn't do anything to hurt the wildlife in the area. In fact, that's one of the reasons we live there. That's how it started out as a rod and gun club. We've got 3 lakes out there. Kind of dry right now with the rain, a lack of rain. But these people used to be my friends and still my neighbors, but they've been fed a line because they can't beat the FCC regulations on this. They're coming after us. as a board of directors. And I'm here to tell you that we've done everything straightforward, above board, and that's all I can tell you.
Okay, any questions?
One of the other members mentioned something about tax status changing. Do you know what that means?
Well, right now, we're, like I said, a 501c7 mutual benefit association.
Right.
I'm hearing stories that if they have to, I don't know. I don't know enough about that. It never came up, and you guys would know more about why they would change the tax status. I don't think it would happen.
So you're charging a fee for them to use this land, correct?
Yeah, we're leasing the land to them. We're
Right.
not
So
selling
that
the land.
that money in effect goes into the association fund or the corporation.
Goes in the general account.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Alexis had talked about the fact that you couldn't sell and stuff, you couldn't give things away, you couldn't assign things, whatever the statute says, the bylaw says, but that bylaw is the second half of a bylaw saying you have to have a member vote for concessions. This isn't a concession. Like you said, you're going to put a wall around it so nobody can get in there.
Order, please don't.
Well, and that is important. They're saying that the only reason they're doing this is because Gary and or his brother made a lot of money for finding the cell tower application. And I don't know, it's just, it's mean and nasty and bitter.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, bringing it back to the commission.
Chair, if I may.
Please.
So I did drive by. I did not get a chance to talk to anyone, but I did drive by, and we had a similar situation. Four of us were on the commission at that time. One of us has just mentioned when something happened in Ripon, and we denied it, and they took it to the supervisors for the appeal. Things got done. They moved on. I understand no matter what we do here, the way they move on, we'll move on. But I do want to say this with my observation and knowing the place, not that I live there or anything, but knowing where it is a close-knit community there. I don't know exactly 400 homes, but there are a lot of homes there. It's like it's like an organization or like a community. I don't understand how did it happen. What they're saying that happened, that one person just went ahead and signed without the consent of other members. But that being said, my question again to our legal counsel is, uh, it's a job to listen to everyone. We are listening to all these people. No matter what we do, it's not going to change the basic rule that we can listen, but whatever we say doesn't hold any grounds. Um, Same thing happened last time after Ripon thing was done. I got some calls from some angry folks who were saying that you don't live there, so you don't know, and you just said this and you said that. Uh, I just want to say this on the record that I don't know anyone living at the River Club. I did drive by. It's a close-knit community. It's a little bit disheartening to see the rift there. But then again, everybody's got a right to their opinion and what they feel and how they feel. Um, if there is another, because that area has a lot of open acreage. I understand the gentleman saying that what was the reasoning for them not to go to other locations. But yes, that area, around that area, just particularly just where they are locating that tower, few acres away, there is land that belongs to other people, like open acreage. I mean, if it's bringing so much of discord between a community that is so close knit, I think it's not worth it. I mean, you have to look at the bigger picture. You cannot just look at, T-Mobile is not the only company that serves. There are others, and there will be more coming around. Um, I just want to, say this, that yes, I did drive by, and I know the area, the Durham Ferry area, all that is all agriculture. There's a lot of land. My question to the applicant is, did they, one of the ladies was not responsive. There is so many farmers out there, and they have so much land that's out there open with no residences around it. Have they approached any one of those? You can get the access to who owns the land to the Secretary of State, and or it's very easy to know who the owner is. Why was why was it picked up between so close to the residence, even though there is conflicting claims that there is harm that can come from these 100-foot poles? Um, if I can find something, or if I can drive around and see so much open space and have an idea, these people are the experts. Why didn't they, after all these years and after all this opposition, have they even tried besides the points? I understand the points they were showing on there, and one lady wasn't responsive. But there is, again, I know I'm repeating myself, that area is very open, agricultural land, maybe hundreds of, if not thousands of acreage around that area. Uh, why exactly inside a community where there is homes all around it? Most of them folks in the late 50s, early 50s. I don't want to guess anybody's age, but it looks like most of the people living there are retired. Most. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. That is my only question to the applicant is, knowing the area, I know there is a lot of land available, and I can help them even find someone over there who would be willing to lease them, because they do pay for the leased land. Why particularly this small community? Why particularly this area where there's so many homes? They're close-knit community. There's a lot of homes there. I just found out there's more than 400. I thought it was around 300 to 400 anyway. So, if I may have an answer to that question, please, I'll appreciate it.
No, I agree. I think the site selection process is what stands out to me. I mean, it sounds like everyone did their due diligence, but it just, even from T-Mobile's standpoint, you'd think there would just be somewhere else where you wouldn't have to go through all this. And the whole deal, it's, as you can see, there's very little that we can do, and it's just a awfully sad situation, It's really a, sad project here. And to hear, I think you guys make some great points and contribute to the process, and then you hear, doesn't matter what you say, the process is kind of a foregone conclusion. And that's pretty frustrating. It's frustrating up here too.
It's very frustrating because, I'm not feeling good, but since this is my district, I'm sitting through it, and I'm not doing nobody a favor, but I'm just trying to listen to everyone, and I'm trying to be very fair and listen to the applicant. It doesn't make sense to me. Knowing the area, I've been in Tracy since 1999, and that's one area that's always been there. It's not like something new homes popped up after 2019 and they were not aware of it. Um, it doesn't make sense to me, and it's very unfortunate, like you said, Chair. Like, no matter how much time we spend, even if we say no, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
I've been out to the River Club, and it's a wonderful community. I'm very familiar. I had a house for sale out there. It didn't sell. But anyway, it's a bit, but our hands are really tied. Like she said, that we denied it for Ripon, and then they just went to the county supervisor. They took it over our heads and appealed, and it went through. So our hands are really tied, but I do feel for your problem with such a small, tight community.
Yeah, and even if it is a minority, we're claiming this is a minority, there's just got to be better governance than upsetting so many of your neighbors in a situation like this. I can't imagine the money is just so life-changing for that community out there to upset this minority, vocal minority, and obviously care about it. I mean, Commissioner Sangha, if you want to make a motion.
Could I say one more thing?
Oh, yeah, please, sorry.
Before you make that motion? If I understand, is it too late for the applicant to pull and wait and discuss more with those who are in opposition to this, who live out there? Can they still at this point pull the application and ask for continuance or anything? Like two
I'm not
issues.
used to the button yet. Those are actually two different questions. So the applicant at any time has the ability to withdraw an application. At this stage, that could happen. The River Club or Vertical Bridge, the applicant could pull it. So to address that question, however, is that cell telecommunications towers applications do have a shot clock, meaning there is a time by which a jurisdiction has to approve or deny, make a final determination. And the applicant, again, has some expertise on this, and I'm sure has an opinion. But there is a shot clock, which does not, again, limit your discretion to approve or deny, but the impacts of your denial have repercussions. If we deny it or we fail to make a final determination by the shot clock, which has been told by agreement, certainly we would ask that they give the county more time to make a final determination if the applicant asks for a hold, or if you, within your discretion, tabled the item to a date certain or until a condition is met. We would have not have the issue of a final determination of denial, but instead have to address the shot clock. So whether the applicant would agree to our request to extend that shot clock, that would be up to Vertical Bridge. If they don't extend that and the shot clock runs, then the application is deemed approved. And there are some remedies and permutations within that, but that is the basic outline of how a giving more time would impact. And I would say, if you want sort of more information on that specifically from Vertical Bridge, I would ask that you ask for them. I'm giving it to you generally from the county perspective, obviously.
What happens to the shot clock if I ask for more time to review our policy on, the county's policy on site selection?
So, and so it sounds to me like what you're saying is that you don't feel that the county at this point has the information that you have been provided, if I understand this correctly, is that you don't believe that that the applicant has met the obligation to demonstrate that the site that's being proposed is in fact the least intrusive means to cover the gap.
I have a problem with the applicant being the qualified individual, just based on incentives in general, right? They are the qualified individual, is that correct? Or you said to?
Do you mean Vertical Bridge is the
Correct.
well, Vertical Bridge is required to provide the alternative site. It sounds like what you're saying is that you don't believe they've demonstrated to you that they have, that the proposed location is the least intrusive means. To the extent you want to table this and direct staff to bring you back more information on that, you have the discretion to do that. We have a shot clock issue, but to the extent you believe that hasn't been demonstrated, that would be within your discretion to say, we want to table this item, for example, until staff brings back more alternative sites, and Vertical Bridge would be the entity to look at that, although staff could also participate in that review.
I
So
find that
doesn't
a
that
very
extend the
reasonable
shot
ask
clock?
to look at
Not
our
extend the
site.
shot clock.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable ask to me to look at more sites. You see so many people upset by it. You hear Commissioner Senga saying she drove out there and it looks like there's other places to do it. Although we did hear the applicant talk about the height with the airport being there. But would it still provide the coverage even if it didn't have completely the height? Would it still be an alternative versus having that type of question?
Okay.
I'm just spitballing here. I'm just talking with you guys here.
Chair, if I may say, the airport is quite a distance from there. The airport is on the main street that's called Tracy Boulevard over here, by Linney and Tracy Boulevard. We're talking about Casson Road and Durham Ferry. The airport, I understand how the airport works because I was on the city's planning commission for 8 years before I came to the county. And I know how the city operates that under the FAA. I understand there's a teaching school, flight teaching school there. And it is not, if they were building some homes, yes, the airport is there, and because of the runway, we couldn't bring some homes there. That was a whole different issue. We're talking about a monopole, which is 100 feet tall, and Durham Ferry and that area is pretty far away. Not that I'm an expert on how far away you should be, but I will do some research on that
Quiet, please.
with the city of Syracuse, but it's far away.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Singh. I see what you're saying. Anyone else on the commission? I mean, this is something, I'll be gone at some point, but you guys will have to deal with this type of cell tower situation again, and I don't think it hurts to make sure the site selection criteria, I think a lot of the problems can be solved with site selection criteria, and maybe not just from the applicant, or to ensure that they're asking all those ag properties as well. I don't know how we would do that, but that's what we have staff for, I think, to come up with an idea. Anyone else, or do you want to make a motion to pass, or? Okay, no one wants to make a motion. Commissioner Sangha, any more thoughts?
I would like to make a motion to if we can postpone the final decision yet. And, if they can do some more legwork and work with the community there, it's only 400 homeowners that they need to work with. Even if half of them are opposing it, that's a big number, because whether it's a majority or a minority, we need to hear them out. And I think being in business, I understand every day lost is revenue lost, but looking at the greater good, if they can postpone and look for another site, and absolutely if there is no site available, then I can understand if this is the best option. But right now, I strongly believe that this is not the best option. I mean, there has to be a little bit more of legwork to be done here.
Okay, I hear you. No, so I think we're looking for the language to have more due diligence on the site selection. Do you not think that the site selection was satisfactory? Is that correct?
So
Yes,
if I may just, oh, go ahead, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that that's what I was intending to say towards the motion.
Okay.
So if I may clarify through the chair, and Commissioner Sangha, correct me, my understanding is that your motion is to essentially table this item.
Correct.
Until staff brings you back more sites and more information about alternative locations to see if those alternative locations are in fact less intrusive than the proposed site.
Yes, please.
That's Commissioner Singh is saying yes.
Is that correct? And let me just clarify, is that the condition, or is it to table to a date certain? And then
That's your choice.
Okay. Commissioner Russo, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the motion. So are we voting to not go forward with this project, to deny the application, or are we voting to table a decision on yes or no?
The statement that I just made was an attempt, and Commissioner Singh had indicated that it was an accurate clarification of what the motion was. So that is my understanding of Commissioner Sangha's motion, which would be to table until staff brings back and renotices and reagendizes the project with information on additional alternative sites.
Would the applicant have the right to appeal our decision to table it?
No decision's been made.
It's not a final determination on the proposed project. It would be to table the final determination. And I will say, if I may, through the chair, that does implicate the shot clock, but to the extent that you do still own that discretion, like I said, because of you are the review authority on this project. And so we will address the shot clock issue separately if possible.
So what's the shot clock at right now? I mean, are we talking days, weeks, months? When's the buzzer going off?
I'm gonna ask my staff, what's that final date on that shot clock?
So, yeah.
And Nancy, I apologize, I don't have that specific date either. I'm not sure
Fine, I have it in my file.
if Bill has it.
Stay on the project.
Oh, does he have it handy?
That's it.
If I remember correctly, and we'll get this information, it's not, I believe it was extended
It wasn't extended.
to an amount of time to
Sorry.
allow through board, but I don't know.
I want to say it's September.
And I don't remember, I don't remember if it was through board or if it was just through the planning commission. It might have been right around this time, but I'd rather have the date.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh my gosh.
And again, I would say through the chair, right, the shot clock is an important aspect of the Federal Telecommunications Act, but because our code brings us to you as as the reviewing body, that doesn't actually affect your discretionary ability to do that action. It just has implications in terms of how we would ultimately need to deal with that application.
Yeah, because you can't deny it. Deny doesn't no good, and, I mean, essentially, yeah.
Right, it's really indicated the Federal Telecommunications Act, there's a trigger of a final approval, so the jurisdiction is required to make a final determination on an application, whether that's approval or denial. That then triggers, failure to do that within the shot clock triggers, essentially it's deemed approved, but again, there's some nuances to that. So once we get that date, otherwise what we can do is just make sure that currently we're through it and we can address it. Again, do either of you have that date in front of you? Have the agreement? I don't either. That is a failure on my part, I apologize.
I have an agreement dated May 31st of '24 that looks like it may have told the shot clock until Friday, September 20th. I'm hoping that's the right date and I'm reading this right on the fly.
Well, we have 3 slots that we could fill that in, even though we don't have anything scheduled at this point. If we had to come back on August 1st, August 15th, or September 5th.
You have a motion on the floor, so.
Do we do?
That was my understanding, was that.
Commissioner Singh has.
Commissioner Singh has
Okay.
motions pending.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Rustaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley. No. Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. County Council, do we have to put date on that?
The motion, as I understood it, was to table it until that
Gotcha.
information was prepared, and at which point now, the benefit of a date certain is that staff doesn't have to renotice it. When we don't have a date certain, we renotice it, but that's not a particularly onerous thing when you're raising the issue that you've raised, so that's how that would work procedurally.
Yeah, I would just like to see, I know staff does a great job. I just want to see the process kind of from the beginning because it comes up so much. If there's anything we could do to fine tune it, I think that'd be worthwhile, and to make sure that all the due diligence is done on the applicant's part and that we're cross-referencing that things are available. Okay, that's it. The rest of the meeting's not that fun, I promise. All right. Okay, number 6, election of officers. Yeah. Well, see, here's where I think that those guys don't really go out and ask those country properties. That's what I think. I think they submit 3 other properties, yeah, they mail those out. Once they get a yes, they say, we already got a yes. They're incentivized to just say, okay, we got a yes. Give me 3 other properties we can show to the county. Right? Versus like, hey, are you really talking to him? That's it. He's not going out of town, and, you know what I'm saying? He just wants to slam a deal, right? Which I get. But it's our job to make sure that there's some due diligence with like. It would, but there's always, if there's that type of doubts, it's gonna be in your head the whole time, and you're never gonna feel healthy. If you really believe that, you're never gonna feel healthy, you're never gonna feel safe. It's like, look, if that alternative property, oh, the cell tower could only go this high. Well, that's okay. Do they still get, does it still coverage the area? It's not your ideal, but. Boy, Commissioner Rustaw really opened a can of worms with all his questioning tonight.
Clarification, for God's sake.
Are we gonna do the election of officers?
Yes. Can you run us through how that works?
I rescind my vote. Mr. Rustaw kept us here till 9:30. Just checking.
You know, this is past my bedtime. I'm like Joe, I gotta go to bed. Okay, so are you looking for nominations? Hint, hint?
Yes,
Oh,
I think
so I can nominate.
if you could nominate both of them. Yes. So, chair and vice chair, right? Yeah. You do. Hmm? Yeah. Oh, is that what it was? Was that regarding the,
So,
then they have adequate time to do that? Were they here or no?
can I just make one comment? We will make sure at the board that it was clear that he did put in a slip to speak.
Okay.
Because it looks like he used we don't use this Board of Supervisor public comment form, but it appears that the gentleman
Oh.
pulled it and provided it, but nobody down here at the clerk's station, I'm talking about Toby, like he's not here, recognized that that's not a process that we use.
Gotcha.
And so we will I just want to be clear to the extent he was here and sat through a very, very,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
long
yeah.
meeting, that the fact that he wasn't able to speak on it doesn't preclude him from making statements at the board, which is a very unique situation, but I do just want to make that clear to
So
the
he'll have
commission.
his day to voice, and
Correct.
with the ultimate decision makers on that.
Correct, because that can actually create an argument against the situation, and I just want to be clear, he did attempt to speak, we did not see the request, and therefore.
Understood.
Now, and
Okay.
I will be clear also that when you asked for anyone to come down, he did not come down, and that did not require a card.
Yeah.
But I just,
No, I
appreciate your-
even did a stall there. Usually I just blow through it, but I just assumed the person hadn't showed up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you letting me make that clarification.
Yeah.
Hey, he should have said pull it. Does he have to come down and say it?
Well,
Yeah.
he wouldn't, I mean, we gave the opportunity, the chair gave the opportunity. Now, he could either come down and say it, or had he spoken from the audience, what we would do is we would say, please come down to the mic so we can make sure that's on record, at which point the chair would have engaged. We just didn't see that. I am also not clear whether he turned that card in before the consent item or after. So just to be clear, we will recognize that, that he did attempt to
I
speak
scanned.
tonight. I did too, honestly, Chair.
Saw nothing. All right, we need to, we're gonna,
They heard me.
yeah. Okay, Sherry's gonna nominate our next, we got, you know, the thing, you know?
Election of officers.
Oh, you want me, I have a script to do, huh? Okay. You want me to read this whole thing? Yeah, I guess from the laugh, that's it. How am I supposed to do? No, I have to read this.
The bold parts are kind of your
Okay.
key.
I will now ask for nominations for the position of vice chairperson.
I would like to nominate Don Rustoller for,
This is for vice chair.
vice chair. That would be the other guy.
Chris. Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further nominations? No other nominations. It appears at this time no one else wishes to make a nomination, so I declare nominations for vice chairperson now closed. I will now call for a vote on each commissioner nominated in the order they're nominated. Please vote yes or aye for the candidate of your choice. Am I doing this right here? Okay. No or nay for other candidates. The first candidate to receive a majority vote will be vice chairperson. May I have a vote on the nomination of Commissioner Mejis for vice chairperson? Clerk, please take a roll vote.
Commissioner Milas.
Milas, yes.
Isn't that what I said? Millis? Millis?
At least he tried.
I've had it 63 years. It's been ripped up pretty well, but that was good. It was close.
Mine was close, right?
Yeah, it was.
That guy wasn't
The
close.
other guy, the other bald guy. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Milas. It's really not.
Milas.
Milas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Milas.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
We can play a tape, that's what I said. Milas.
Don't worry, we will.
Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Rustoller.
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha.
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Okay, we have our new vice chairperson. May I have a vote on the nomination of commissioner for chairperson?
Nominate.
I'm on the other page. This is all for vice.
Yep, but then the bottom says
Repeat the process for chairperson. Got it. I
Hey,
will
Joe,
not-
does it say pause for applause?
Yeah, I know. I know. It's been a long night. I thought I did great all night, and I'm really blowing it in the last 5 minutes. I will now ask for nominations for the position of chairperson.
I nominate Don Rustoller.
She nominates Commissioner Rustoller. Any further nominations? It appears at this time no one else wishes to make a nomination, so I declare nominations for chairperson now closed.
You
We'll
can
now
go straight to the vote.
Okay, let's have a vote for Commissioner Rustoller.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha.
Yes.
Commissioner Rustoller.
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Milas.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, I think,
It's laughs unlimited. Yeah.
planning commissioners' comments, I think you guys will both do awesome. It's gonna be, you guys are gonna do fantastic. Director's report.
Thank you. We have the final Williamson Act cancellation for a project that you had before you earlier, going to the Board of Supervisors on August 13th. And then for upcoming meetings, we don't have anything scheduled for August 1st. We have a couple items on August 15th, including development title, text amendments to work on additional alternative housing for manufactured homes, and the board directing us to go back with design guidelines for commercial and industrial development. And then we don't have anything scheduled for September 5th. So we'll work with Vertical Bridge, get additional information, and get them on the schedule as soon as we can, as soon as we feel like we have enough information.
Yeah, and I am curious about the process. I wasn't just trying to stall out there.
Sounds good.
All right, that's all we got.
Thank you.
Oh. No, throw it away.
I'd like to thank the chair and the vice chair for serving. You're very much appreciated,
thank
and I know
you.
you've had some difficult meetings, and I know we throw things at you. So I just, before you wrapped, I wanted to say thank you for your.
Yeah, I want to say thank you too.
Oh, thank you, guys. It's
And-
been fun.
And thanks for taking a vacation at one of the most interesting meetings we've ever had.
I'd like to thank my millions of fans out here in the stands. I know my wife watches. She's one of 3 people. She's always on there, so. All right, thank you. I'm sweating.